Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the first ever remote version of Not Your Day Job. I have a great special guest today, TJ Keasal, also known as Talks with TJ, if you follow her on YouTube and different socials. TJ, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm definitely excited to have this conversation with you.
I appreciate it. I appreciate you giving me the time. I met you on Twitter through like mutual friends. People talking about the love of sneakers, fashion, sports as well. But the one thing I remember that you put me on to was fear of God. I didn't know what fear of God was. I didn't know anything about essentials. And you put me on to that. And so thank you for that. First of all, I just want to say that. So.
You know what? You are welcome. And I'm laughing so much because that became a just an easy identifier, I think, of myself. Like it was just the running theme of like, oh, if you have questions about essentials of fear of God, go ask TJ. And now like I've actually offloaded so much of it and gifted it so much of it to my nieces and nephews so that they can enjoy it. And then just trying to decrease it. Because like if you're watching me for the first time or hearing me for the first time, there was an entire wardrobe setup. And the only thing present on this thing was fear of God essentials.
That's crazy. Okay. I mean, does it hurt to be like known for like one thing? Like, or did you feel like it boxed you in?
So I will say this, I've learned this over the past 2 years because I've kind of gone through a little bit of a transformation in where I am in my sneaker journey. And it is stepping back from the hyper consumerism that I think is very prominent, but it just feels natural, especially since 2020, when so many of us were at home. We had free time. There was extra money available, right? If you weren't driving and commuting to work, that was extra money in your pocket. Then some people had stimulus checks. Some people were just able to save more. So a lot of us were just spending and buying a lot more items during that time. And for me and my native content that I make as a creator, it's on YouTube. So it's long form content and it's usually centered around reviews. But as I've taken a step back, I've realized that's actually the box, unfortunately, that I've had to struggle to break out of, because if people first start watching you and they first gravitate to your channel and it's based on brand new sneaker releases and brand new sneaker unboxings, they anticipate that. And that's what, they think is always going to be part of the content. And then, so the pivot that I've made and just simply buying less and getting rid of more pairs, it's hard. Like I even did a video that said, you as a creator, you have to give yourself permission to pivot, and you need to give yourself permission to pivot in sneakers, maybe away from chasing after every new drop, thinking you have to have it just because you want it or you like it. That's actually been the box to break out of. Whatever the perceived, identity or anticipated like behavior there is for me as a YouTuber, I think that ends up being the box I have to break out of. But I wasn't upset about being known for essentials. Like, quite honestly, I was listen, I became the person, what are you buying? Tops or bottoms? I can help you with sizing. I can tell you, don't buy it on Fear of God's site when it drops on a Wednesday. Wait until it's on a Friday at global retailers, because if it dropped on Essence, you were able to not only get it in like 2 days record time with their shipping, you were also able to do exchanges or returns if the item just didn't fit or it just wasn't for you. Like a lot of people may not know, Fear of God, they have final sale on their website. So it's like one and done. Either it works or it doesn't. And these items aren't cheap. They've only gone up in price. And so, yeah, I was always happy to be able to help people, because they were just kind of, breaking in. And I have no problem when people are like, I see everyone else is wearing it. Okay, what is it about? Like, that's how you get put onto things that you don't know about.
Absolutely.
Like, I know that's kind of looked down upon within the culture sometimes, but I don't have an issue with it. Like, people saw individuals walking around with it. Maybe you saw just like the fit. Like a lot of times it's like, oh, I really like the way that looks, like the way it fits and it drapes on somebody. I want to try that out myself. I think that's what a lot of people ended up gravitating towards. And then, yeah, like it became the thing. And one, it was comfortable. Like comfort took over, not only for footwear, but also for clothing. A lot of people are able to move around in their life in a much more casual way. So I think that's why Jerry was able to have such a big moment.
Absolutely. And I agree. I think you have to let things flow, right? I think people try to force things many times in content creation. And many times it comes from like trying to copy whatever the trend is. And it can work for a certain amount of time, but you know, the originator is the originator. And right. And I feel like you were the originator for essentials. Like that just was natural. And like for me, I was like, other people were doing it, but it was like only a few of you that I felt like were the most popular at giving their opinion and people respected their opinion. You even would give opinions when you didn't like a drop.
Yes.
And I think that was a key thing too for people.
Yeah. So one, so shout out to two different fellow peers. So one is Paul. His channel is Locust and Wild Honey. So he was doing this long before even I was. So he's considered like one of the OG Jerry boys because he was definitely buying items as soon as they hit kind of the scene 2014 and 2015. And then Sharoy would buy quite a few items as well and do a lot of sizing try-ons. And I think that was the big thing too. You had 3 different individuals and also 3 different body types and heights. So I think that is helpful when it comes to knowing what's going to fit and how is it going to fit, because I always try to tell like women this may fit differently in pants because pants for men don't necessarily fit us the same. And so yeah, it was nice to always be able to tell viewers, hey, you can reference their videos too, because I was only able to review the items that I purchased and they were based on things I wanted to wear. I didn't get every single color, I didn't get every single item to try on, but especially with Paul and this being his career, he was able to do that in a really big way, which is super helpful. But it was like, I think those 3 people knew they could just tap in and find out. And I wasn't afraid to give my thoughts about what worked for me from a collection, what didn't work, what really made me scratch my head and go like, what was the direction or purpose here? And even from the perspective of like value, I would just share if I thought I would get value out of something, based on whatever price it was at. And then if I thought, hey, I could just go somewhere else and get a comparable alternative, and I just think it's going to serve me better. And that's what I've done recently. Like I stepped away from even talking about every single seasonal drop that was coming out because I knew that I wasn't going after it anymore. I don't think I've bought anything since early 2023. And so not too long ago, a viewer said, hey, I know that you've like stepped away from essentials, but could you still share your thoughts on the new collection? I'm sitting over here like, I forgot when it even dropped. It was for spring, summer 2026. I forgot it even dropped. So I hop on the website and look, and I'm like, oh, so hoodies are $160 good dollars now. Got it. T-shirts for a kid, it's just $85. And so I was like, okay, I'm not going to be upset at these prices because a designer, a creator, anyone, you need to price your items and price your services at whatever you choose to price them at. It's on the consumer to make that choice if that is a good price for them or if it's not the price for them. So I'm not upset about it at all. I just simply know based on what I'm buying right now, that isn't for me. And I've spoken as well that I think there's some like questions in the direction. There's certainly font fatigue because he went from being known for this very recognizable font and it was more of a minimalistic design, and now it's actually more audacious and oversized print, and it's given one more person said it was the Paxonification of essentials.
That's crazy.
And it's right, like I think that was one of the most accurate descriptions I could think of for a lot of the items that have come out in recent seasons, because it looks like some of it looks like racing inspired apparel that I would find at Hollister, which I'm expecting to find that at Hollister. I'm not expecting it from Fear of God Essentials, which is funny because Hollister has done like a 180, and yes, they have like F1 and NASCAR, and I think they have college and NFL and NBA, but they also have very understated items where you have no idea that it's from Hollister. They hold up extremely well, they fit well, and they're really well priced. And it's like, oh, so you all kind of switched places in a little bit. It kind of, or in a way, it kind of feels like. And yeah, then it's just like it's fonts all over the place. I'm just like, pick a font, pick a typeface.
I get it. Look, Jerry's gonna explore. Jerry's gonna try whatever is. I don't know what goes through an artist's mind, but I do want to take it back though, before we go into fashion, because I do want to talk about that more. I want to go take it back to like you're starting out in content creation, right? And I feel like nowadays content creation is still such like a new area or career path for people that is now more legitimate.
Right.
Did you always see it as a business, or did you see it as something to express yourself and have fun?
So the intention was for me to express myself and have an outlet, because I have a few individuals in my life that are very much so into sneakers like I was, but that wasn't always the norm, right? Especially when you grow into adulthood, it's not always the norm. And so being able to get all of these thoughts out and have people return that energy, and you can bounce different ideas and different perspectives, off of each other. That's what I was interested in. And that's what I was watching. I would watch the OG YouTubers on, sneaker YouTube. So that could have been Jock Slade. That could be, Mike the Compass, A Sneaker Life. That could be Fomer Simpson. So I was watching those, men coming up, and there was only like, there's usually not a ton of women that are creating content. And I would say for like an extended period, like sometimes there's like a run of like 2, 3 or 4 or 5 years. And I think a big part of that, having been in this for almost 8 years, a big part of that is the things that we face on the back end, and in facing the public that men don't necessarily face all the time. And so I can see where it gets tiring for women. But yeah, I would watch the men make their content, and I'm just like, I could do that. Like, I have no problem being in front of a camera. I, understand, I've been a part of this culture. I've been talking about sneakers since I was, young, elementary and middle school. And I wanted it to be an outlet, but I chose to approach it from a pretty organized and, I guess, business mindset. And that, before I ever even recorded my first video, I had 8 weeks with one video per week already planned out for the topics I wanted to talk about, because I intentionally named the channel Talks with TJ, because I wanted just to be able to talk about, different topics that always flow through sneakers. So sneakers would always be the focal point, but I wanted to be able to go around it. There's a lot of intersection, with sneakers and footwear, fashion clearly, but sports plays such a big part when you think about how AI, and the real AI that we know, Allen Iverson.
Yeah, yeah.
Because you're going to show my age, the real AI and Allen Iverson, how he influenced fashion and culture at that intersection of basketball to the point where we had a dress code. Thank you, David Stern. So I knew that there were so many different ways that I could approach it. But then people always say, create what you don't see. Well, I didn't see people talking responsibly about, how you can afford these shoes, but still really make headway in whatever, financial goals that you had, especially when you were young, because I think I was 28. So that's probably considered vastly older than a lot of people that choose to start sneaker YouTube. They're usually teens or very early 20s. But I would have friends that would say like, oh, like, you're able to go buy X and go buy Y and you buy these and you buy that, but like, you don't seem stressed about money. And I'm like, I have expenses and things just like you do, but I am planning for it, and I'm making sure that all of my needs are met first. And then after that, yes, like I have fun money planned. I know when that sneaker drop is happening. I know how much it's going to cost. I know, to have that money ready to buy the pair I want guilt-free and to enjoy it. I didn't see a lot of that being talked about. And so I said, okay, let me just make the content that I want to make. And clearly nobody else is making it. So I think I'm, kind of good to be able to fill this void that's here. And I think that's what made it easier over time, is if you choose to treat it like a business, and just planning it, right? Because one, when you're working full time and you're trying to do consistent content, it's daunting. It's hard. Trying to have the energy to be in front of a camera. A lot of people don't know you have to actually be in the mood to be on, as they say, on.
That is true. That's very true.
Like you
yeah,
you got to be in the mood. What if you're not? What if it's just an off day and you're like, you know what? I don't want to talk to anybody. I don't want to film. I don't want to be in front of this camera. That's natural and it happens. Please understand. Like there are some days where you're like, that camera and I are not vibing. So.
Yeah. I mean, I've seen it with like people who I feel like are very famous for doing interviews, and you can tell they have a guest, right? Mm-hmm. Who is kind of not like, they obviously were scheduled to do the appearance, but you can tell like how they're asking them questions. The responses are like, I don't really want to be here.
Nope. It
So
just listen, it just wasn't that day. It could have been the longest work day. It could have been right. Everybody has like individual things that they go with. It doesn't matter. And so when it's like, oh, well, I need to make content, that's one reason I would tell anybody that is interested in doing content creation, learn the hack of batch creating and just take time, plan out the ideas or the topics that you want to discuss or you want to get on camera. And then pick some time. It may have to be in like your Saturdays or your Sundays, maybe the time where you're creating. It really might be. And sit down, let's say for 3 hours, and you're just recording videos. You're just recording the content that you need to record. And then it's done. And as you have time during the week in the afternoons and in the evenings, then you can go through your editing process and you can get it uploaded. And that means that you're still able to go through everything else that is an obligation for the week, and your content doesn't have to suffer, because consistent for me isn't going to look like consistent for somebody that either works full-time or part-time, but they're also married and they have children, and all those children have all of their own responsibilities and their own schedule to keep. So it's all different, right? The time that we have to give in something in a day is vastly different. So don't ever be discouraged if you see a creator, like for me, don't be discouraged if you see me posting tons of content on Instagram. One, it's planned that way because for my long form YouTube videos, I can easily clip usually like 3 different short form videos out of it.
oh yeah.
Like that is really the secret sauce of your long form creator. And you can get AI programs that will actually just clip it for you, so you're not having to do that on the back end. But I'll go ahead and I'll clip anywhere from 30 seconds to 90 seconds, and I'm like, okay, that can be posted on Instagram, that can be posted as a YouTube short, and that just it's different content that can be posted in a way to get in front of different eyes. But that helps me know, oh, one long form video, that's 3 consistent posts for the week on Instagram. That takes pressure off of my back. When I film anything that has an outfit in it, I can choose to do the B-roll for the actual outfit, but I'm going to film it in 9:16 and not 16:9, which means when I choose to go re-edit that footage, I can still upload it onto Instagram as a reel. And so now I have something else to post from the outfits that I already posted on YouTube. And I can choose to take still shots, let's say of like, hey, outfit of the day. And I can post that weeks later, after I've already posted the original content. So I think there is a lot of strategy that I had going into it, which also made it easy to kind of not wane or not fall off in terms of being consistent. Because it's easy. Like if you skip a week, 2 weeks, the thought of having to go back to like getting in front of the camera and doing the editing and having to engage in the comments again, it will deter you from even like going back to creating.
Yeah, you have to have a process. I think most things are successful have a process, and I've definitely been there. Like being weeks and weeks of like putting out content, and then you want to take a break. I think there is like a good thing to take a break. But it definitely sometimes feels hard to like get back into that groove of things. But I think you have detailed out a lot about your process, and I feel like that probably helps you get back into it a lot easier than maybe most other people when it comes to making content. But still, I want to go back though and go back to sneakers because you already talked about getting into sneaker culture, being a content creator, male dominated spaces, those challenges there for sure.
Yeah.
But I want to shout out some people, not only you, but people like Jazzaray, Shake, Bianca, Beema Williams, and talking about the history of sneakers.
Yeah.
And so how important is it for these stories for sneakers to be told?
So it's interesting because I think in some ways people have forgotten that the stories are what bring us a lot of times together, or at least creates that connection, right? I believe what Obama tried to remind everybody, that there is much more that connects us than divides us. And if we would actually just stop to keep that in mind, There would be something about maybe what interested you in this sneaker or what brought you to it, that could usually connect you with somebody that you probably thought you would have never had anything in common with. So I think that's why it's important to continue to have storytellers. I think it's why it's important to continue to have those stories passed along and recreated in the community, right? If you look at Eric Shake James and what he does within the community, that's a story in itself that is continuously being told within footwear. It's not just on the shoes, but it's actually the impact that he's having. So I do think those are definitely important. I think sometimes we will, I think it's just capitalist hypercapitalism that will have us get, push a story that either isn't authentic or it feels forced. And I think it's very obvious to the culture when this happens, because it when it works, it works. And when it's like authentic, it hits. And when it doesn't, it's like, all right, cool. Like somebody sat at that table and just needed to churn out a shoe and you needed to sell us on a story. And I will never forget, John Geiger said this last year. He was kind of going on his like JG rants, and he's like, at the end of the day, like, does your shoe look good? He's like, I know people care about the box and the paper and the this, and does the shoe look good? And that's when it hit me that I'm like, we will just get roped in emotionally, for a story, for a shoe. And I am at the point where the story alone isn't going to sell me on the shoe. I need the design of the shoe to wow me. I need the design of the shoe to make me want it. Even if I didn't know your name was attached to it, even if I didn't know a single drop of inspiration behind it, does the product look good? Does the product perform well? I'm past the point of putting retros on my feet that hurt. I'm past it. I'm genuinely past it. It feels like I've personally bought every 6 or 4 or 11 I'm ever going to buy. And I know people will say, but 11s are comfortable. Maybe they're comfortable to you, okay? But after you've worn New Balance or Nike Vomero 5s, or you put on a Brooks Adrenaline GTS 4, if you put on a 9060, a 2002 R, a 990 series, if you've put on a Asics Gel 1130, okay, if you've put these shoes on foot, listen, a John Geiger 004, that's comfortable. The 005 is comfortable. Once I put these shoes on my feet and then I try to go back to, let's say, like, a Jordan 6 or an 11, it's just not working anymore. It's not. And when I realized I wasn't even wearing the 6s I was wearing, I was like, yeah, let me just go ahead and get rid of these. Like, the story is not keeping you here. Sorry, Black Red 6. The story isn't enough. Like the Georgetown 6, I remember, right? It was a personal story for me because my godbrother at the time was coaching baseball at Georgetown. So I was like, oh, I'm gonna rep the school that he's coaching at. And so like I got a pair. He had a pair because of course it's a Jordan school. His dad ended up getting a pair. And so like that became like a whole cool family affair for us to all like have this Georgetown 6. But then like I remember months and months later, I'm like, I'm not even wearing this. So if my own personal story isn't keeping me linked to this product anymore, I don't think one that's manufactured is going to keep me. But when you have a story that does truly hit you, and it is something extremely special, right? If you recall Eric Shake James in terms of the Take Control. So he had the new Addy Star Control 5 Cranberry, and it was about him taking control of his health, overcoming a battle with cancer that he didn't even verbalize to people. Like as a close friend, I didn't know until he decided to come out later on and, publicly and go ahead and share that. Because one, as he said, a lot of men are expected to just go through life and just deal with it. Just shoulder it all, just hide the emotion, hide the tears, hide everything that's weighing on them, and just keep powering through. Although that's the total opposite of what you should do as a human being.
Exactly.
It's the total opposite. So, the story of more men being able to open up, the story of why it is so important to take control of your health when you have the opportunity or when you get a second chance to do it, do so. And maybe that will empower and influence somebody else to take control of not only their health, but a lot of different other things, in life. So, yeah, I think when we have the stories that are true and they come from the heart and we can tell, and when that person sits down, I think it becomes really easy to understand why stories continue to keep this culture going. And I get why some people are a little annoyed because they'll feel like, well, current generation or new generation coming in, it doesn't feel like they care about the stories. I just think it's just not a story that's resonated with them, right? If a story
Yeah.
comes along and it does actually hit them emotionally, I think it will matter. I think it'll have impact. We're just so used to these stories. They roped us in at a very young age,
Yeah.
and we've told them, but we've remained connected to people probably 2, 3, 4 decades over a lot of these stories. So I think that's why it's definitely stronger for us than maybe like this current generation.
Yeah, when you talk about that, that's a great segue into me asking about the current sneaker models you see of, like, I guess the current generation. Is there a sneaker that's had a better impact culturally?
Ooh, with this current generation, ooh, this is tough. This is tough. And Aaron actually, he just put a post up today about this generation and the shoes they're gravitating towards, and they're not, because this current generation isn't about, and I believe he references or phrased it as saying like standing out. They want to fit in. They want to be in line, total alignment with whatever their friends are doing, and it's because it's so visible to them on social media. They're on TikTok every single day. So what their friends are doing and what their friends are buying, their friends are wearing, that's what they want to be a part of. We want it to stand out. We want it to be different. Okay. We grew up with crisscross. So I wanted to wear my clothes, backwards
Yeah.
to school, because wearing it inside out was wiggy wig whack, right? Like that's what I wanted to do, so we did grow up where you were trying to stand out in some way. And that's not necessarily the case today. And for you to be able to easily go along with what your friends are doing, I think we have to be honest. That's also capped at what these kids are able to afford. Like maybe they do have a little bit of money, which is great. Because I remember when I started working in high school and I was a referee in the community league that I played in, I would make my own money, but it's like, okay, I only have so much to spend. So maybe I only have max $125 to spend. Maybe I have 75 and mom is like, I'm willing to put $50 with it, and that's it. So you better find us.
And it's more expensive today. I mean, we knew a pair of all white Air Forces, we knew was always going to be $80. When I logged into the app and I was like, $120.
I remember when I was
when did the inflation hit?
I remember working at Kids Foot Locker and the price jumped up, and like we saw it when we scanned it, and I'm like, oh my goodness, like so there I'm like, people are gonna look at us crazy coming in here, like, what do you mean a kid's Air Force One costs that? Listen, don't blame me, okay? I did not set the price. The price is in the system. You can have a conversation with Nike, who sets this MSRP of what this shoe is going to be. But yeah, like the kids only have so much money, and so if my friend goes out and that Asics Gel 1130 is $95 and, $95 or $100, and then I'm like, oh my God, mom, like I really want this shoe. So-and-so has it. Like, please, can you just get it for me? And they're like, okay, how much is it? And they're like $100. And you know what? You're doing what you need to do in school, in sports, at home. You're not giving your parents really any problems. I highly doubt if they have it. I highly doubt they have a problem with that 100. You go to your parents and you're like, yeah, I want this retro. Oh, and by the way, it's $230 before tax. They're probably going to tell you you're out of your $230 mind.
Exactly.
So
exactly.
If my parent tells me that, and now I got to go back to my friends, and I'm like, yeah, they said it was an absolute no. So now they're going to try to figure out, okay, what can I get that everybody else has? Like, what can I get where I don't look like I'm not in the know, that I'm not on trend? Like, we have to understand, we were no different as kids, okay? I had friends that would skip school. I was never bold enough to do this. They would skip school and go down to Fairlane Mall and go get whatever the newest retro was so they could come back and they could have it on before the school day was over. I was never bold enough to do that. I just wasn't. The punishment never seemed worth the sneaker. Okay. Like the sneaker.
Meanwhile, like coming from a small town, the nearest mall for me was like an hour and like 15 minutes away. So it wasn't even possible.
Oh no, it was
for
possible.
me to go and like.
It was possible at our school because we were right off of 96. So you could hop on there or go down Telegraph if you wanted. You could get to the mall in a relatively short amount of time because South Redford and Dearborn are not that far from each other. So you could easily run to Fairlane, pick up whatever you needed to pick up, and be back in school. Again, it was just never something I was trying. But that's where the kids are today. And so when I think about like my nieces and nephews, and mind you, I've gifted them retros, Dunks, Yeezys. I've gifted them tons of sneakers out of my closet because my niece can fit a lot of my shoes because we're about the same size, 6.5 men's. And then my best friend, her mom, can also fit my shoes. So that's an easy place for me to offload pairs, and pretty much I'm saving them money. I'm not having to buy it. But it's like when I see what they're wearing, they're always in Crocs. Always. Like it is a staple uniform for them. They're always in Crocs. Once I got my niece Yeezy slides, listen, it was a wrap. Okay. I remember I got her the Panda Dunks when they were like the most difficult thing to be able to get. Mind you, all of these pairs that I'm naming, they're not over $110. Right.
Yeah.
So, like I started to see the pattern. I remember she went to the mall on her own and she was, so excited. She got a New Balance 9060. She got the all grade A pair. And I'm like, oh, this is really where the kids are settling at. Like, this is it. One, they understand comfort, I think, long before we did. We just wanted to look good.
Oh yeah, we wanted to look good.
We were willing to sacrifice our feet just to be able to look good. I don't know if the kids are doing that, and bless their hearts for being far smarter than what I was, because I feel like my feet have taken abuse over the years because I can squeeze my foot into this shoe that's a half size too small.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Because I just needed to pull off the look. Like, I don't care. I just needed to pull off the look, and I'm just not willing to do that now. But like even when I go to the gym, so sometimes when I'm in the gym, you browse, you people watch between sets, and I see so many young adults come in, and if they're in Nikes, they're in the Nike V5 Runner, or they're in the Nike V2K. So we are talking 90s inspired mesh runners, really comfortable, $125 max.
Yeah. Also, talk about like the heavy lifters, right? When I'm at the gym, I'm also looking at people, and that's how I picked up on like using more flat shoes as I was kind of learning how to, like deadlift, things of that nature. They was like Converses.
Oh yeah, so Converses, you'll see Converses, you'll see Jordan 1s, you'll see Vans as well because it's just a completely flat surface. I traditionally, so if I'm doing leg lifts, if I'm in like a bigger commercial gym, if I'm in like a private complex gym and I don't have to worry about like adhering to code all the time, then I'm usually not lifting in shoes. I'm just in socks. So your foot can be firmly flat on the ground and you can actually have that tripod connection with your foot. If you're trying to squat, if you're trying to deadlift, you need to be able to essentially push through the floor for all of those movements. And so like I'll completely remove a sole and a midsole for me to be able to do that. But if I'm in like a bigger commercial gym, I'll usually have on like I have just Vans. I'll have on like a Vans Authentic 44 that actually does have like, I don't remember if it's like the Cush Pro or whatever it's called, but it's a little bit more comfortable, but it's still flat. So me having to be in a shoe and do these different lifts in the gym, like definitely get a flat sole. Please, 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 please do not be in this gym doing legs and anything that is meant for running. Okay,
trust me, I've done it. I've done it. It's bad. Especially if you have anything with a heel and you're trying to do any type of movements like a deadlift. It's gonna lift you forward. Like you don't want that. Like you're just gonna be going and like falling over.
And it's the easiest way for you to strain your back too. Like you're gonna have like the slightest movement, but you're not gonna notice it. But you trying to pull that heavier weight, let's say like a deadlift, especially if you're trying to pull a conventional, and you're rocking or there's movement or there's compression under you, oh yeah, like you're easily possibly going to do something to your back. I wouldn't recommend it because I've done it before. I absolutely
Yeah.
wouldn't recommend it because that's a long and tedious process for recovery. But yeah, there's like the nuance of that, of what have one pair for you to lift in and certainly one pair for you to go run in. And like that, the kids, listen, they enjoy the runners, they enjoy like sambas. I mean, the lower profile shoes. Like, listen, kids will beat and run sambas into the ground. And do you know what? Parents don't mind because it's $100 sneaker that they can
Yeah.
easily replace the next school or the summer. As a parent, I would be willing to spend the $200 on two pairs of sambas. You run one into the ground during the school year, and you have another one for summer. And guess what? You can run that one into the ground for summer, ripping and running and doing whatever you're doing with your friends. But I don't think there is like one solid consensus of a model. I think kids are floating around what their friends are wearing that are between that $60 price point, maybe for Crocs, and going up to, I think they go up to like max maybe 170 because they'll like Vomero 5s. Like a Vomero 5 is a very popular shoe. I've definitely seen former coworkers like their kids in them, and they're like 16, 20 years old. I've definitely seen them in Vomero 5. So I would say they might go up to there in terms of pricing, but it's either that range that I see kids in or it's designer. They're like polar opposites.
Yeah, it's a jump. Yeah.
It's like polar opposites. They don't really kind of settle in that middle area of I think like the 200 to the 250s. That's about what it is, right? A Jordan 1 is what? I haven't bought a Jordan 1 in I don't know how long, but it's like 180. Depending on if it's a collab, you're going to go up to 190, 200. And then when you look at GR retros, it's not uncommon for them to be 220. I remember people got upset at me when I said, they got upset because I said a Black Cement 3 was a GR. I didn't say it. I didn't say that it wasn't iconic, but it is a GR. It releases everywhere in mass quantities for people to get. But I said, hey, if this shoe is coming back and it's $230 or $225, what do you think collabs will reach in a short amount of time? And I think I said that in like 2022, 2023. Cool. So fast forward now to 2026, and you're seeing a Pharrell Jellyfish at $300. You're seeing a Tiana Taylor 3 at, at $300. And so 280, close. So it's like we were already trending there. Now, is that a problem? No, because guess what? If the price isn't for you, the price isn't for you. If the product were to sit at in such a detrimental way that they were forced to lower the price, then cool. Do I think that's going to happen? No, absolutely, I don't. I don't. Some people see it as a flex to just go pay retail for a certain shoe.
Yep.
But yeah, I think that the kids are just, they're not caught up on the price. Like I see so many adults our age and their immediate thing in the comment sections of social media, if you say no, you're not going for it, or you just don't see the value at $225 for that shoe for you, and they're like, oh, if you're broke, just say that. And I'm like, how do we get here? I'm like,
Yeah.
that's not the definition of broke as clearly as I see it. You're just making this wild assumption based off someone's preference.
Well, that's, goes into content creation in general. It's just people want to say the thing that will get people riled up and it gets the views, right? Whether it be a tweet or whether it be a video, and just saying like, if you can't afford this, then like, what are you doing? And I feel like there's a very privileged place to be able to try to say that. But also, which I want to ask some questions later about kind of your content going into financial responsibility. But I think that's kind of where that crosses the line, where people have to understand that the person who may be wearing something that's super luxury, how do you know they didn't do buy now, pay later or any of the things? How do you know that they're not, like, you don't know these people? But before we go there, and like, because we're diving down, these different areas of great, like, talking points, I also want to just bring it back to when you talk about sports, right? Mm-hmm. And you talked about collabs. We have some great NBA players like Aja Wilson. We have Sabrina Ionescu and Angel Reese. and they have signature shoes.
Right.
And, you know, you have pioneers of the game like Cheryl Swoops, who was one of the first, you know, players to actually get her signature shoe. But how does it feel to see like WNBA players today getting more of the notoriety, promotion, and visibility that maybe players before didn't get?
I think, at least to me, it's reminiscent of what you hear a lot of individuals say, and it could be on the men's or the women's side. You want to leave the game better than you found it. You know, you hope that anything that wasn't there available to you with all of the, you know, blood, sweat, and tears and the years and the hours spent in the gym, that value and that respect would be seen by whatever the entity may be, whatever your franchise may be, the fans, the sponsors, and that they would actually continue to pour more into, you know, the product, which quite honestly are the players. Like, without the players, you don't have a game, you don't have a product. Hence why the current CBA negotiations for the WNBA are so tiring. They are on a I think we're at 4 days now. You have reporters camped outside the building of which they are negotiating this CBA. And, you know, honestly, not all heroes wear capes, because they're out there waiting to like break the news to us to let us know, do we have a season for 2026? Does it start on time? Do we go into a lockout? So much respect to them, truly, for kind of truly being there, like on the scene, like boots on the ground for us and letting us know. But yeah, I think it's everything that you had women like Cheryl Swoops and Lisa Leslie and, you know, Teresa Witherspoon. This was everything that they were all fighting for, right? And that torch got passed on to the Candace Parker, the Diana Taurasi, the Maya Moore. All of those women also had sneakers, either signature or PEs in some way, with these brands, and that was not easy to come by, because for women, if you read the book, oh my goodness, so there's a book, and I cannot think of the name of it, but it actually breaks down the very first inaugural Olympic team that we had, like the very first time. So we're taking it like back. And when you read that, you actually find out about, just throughout all the years of sports before even Title IX, how often there were men standing in the way of women even being able to participate, even being able to play sports, because we need you to remain soft and we need you to remain enticing and we need you to appeal to whatever the male eye is. That's what was literally put upon women. No, you can't go out and actually, you know, enjoy and use the same athletic ability you have as a man to go play a sport. No, we don't want you to be able to do that. Like, they had to fight for all of that. It was a continuous fight. It's still a fight right now to be able to even get the revenue share that is comparable to what the men have in terms of percentage. The league wants to pay them a revenue share that's of net, not of gross, which is a massive difference. You want to pay
massive difference.
You want to pay them after you paid all the bills. We don't even know what the expenses look like. I want an audit done of the league. I need the accountant. I need Ben Affleck to sit in there, get a whiteboard and some markers, and let's see, because we don't get to see the numbers. We don't get to see any of their financial information, right? Like, none of those reports. You don't get to see a single financial document. And so not knowing that also means, for the people and the trolls that want to say, well, women don't make money, so why on earth would they get more? Well, if they're not making money, why are their ownership groups dying to spend $250 million to have a seat at the table? You don't race to drop that money unless there's money to be made, unless you somehow spend your money in a different way. But I don't think that they're racing to be able to get a seat at this table now, knowing that. Like, they saw what happened to the valuation of the Golden State Valkyries, and now everybody understands, oh, if we invest in our players and not just bet on them, great things can happen. And so when you look at that, when you look at brands truly investing, right? If you look at how Nike invested truly in Sabrina, if you look at how Nike is really investing in Asia Wilson, This is everything that Sheryl Swoopes herself should have gotten when she got her very first shoe with Nike. So now we're just simply seeing everything that it should have been. It probably feels just so much more magnified right now. And I think that's because we're in an era of social media. So you see it one time, but it's not just one time, right? It's every single time you scroll, every single media outlet is going to cover something. I think, I mean, it almost feels like reparations. Like, hey, like, look at you actually giving women the investment and the support and the coverage that it deserves. So I think it's amazing. And whenever you hear Sheryl talk about Asia, she's usually crying because she's just so happy to see everything that Asia is receiving, and she feels it's beyond deserving, and she always wants her to continue to strive for more and push for more. That's no different when you look at Cheryl Miller. She says the exact same thing about Juju Watkins. She is there front row cheering for Juju, you know, when she's playing and she's coming back next year, but she is there front row cheering for USC Trojans because she wants them to continue to go on to have all of that success. And no, NIL wasn't a thing back then, right? We didn't even have the WNBA for Cheryl Miller, unfortunately. And so everything that is more than what it was in the past, I see that as a great thing. Like, for example, I paid off my student loans. I was in a fortunate position to be able to do that. I didn't lose my job when we all had to go into lockdown in 2020. My interest was frozen. My income was stable. And all of my needs were met. I thought this is the only time in history where this may happen. And so I can go ahead and prioritize paying down my student debt. And I'll also film it in a way that's a little bit hopefully enticing and entertaining on YouTube to show young adults I could go drop $700 on this sneaker right now for resale. I could. Just because I can doesn't mean I will, doesn't mean I should, because I could also pay down the principal of my student loan and fast track getting out of this debt. Once I'm out of this debt, I can do whatever I want to do with.
Do whatever you want. Yeah.
I can do whatever I want.
Financial freedom, the freedom part.
I just wanted to grant myself the freedom. And sure enough, once the loans kicked back in, payments kicked back in, my payment was so much lower because I had already taken the time to pay down so much of the principal. But when, you know, reform came up and they were asking, because I was interviewed about, you know, forgiveness and was I for it or was I against it? Even though I paid off my student loans, yes, I'm still for it. Forgive the interest that has racked up on these student loans. A lot of these students in their 30s and 40s have long overpaid already for the actual principal of what they took out. And they'll say, well, you shouldn't have taken it out. Do you understand what it's like to possibly have been the very first student to ever go to college? You're confronted by your guidance counselor and your parents and society, and everyone is just telling you, just go sign the papers and just go do what you need to do to be able to go to college, and we're promised it's going to pay off. They probably didn't understand compound interest. And so when you're now facing it and you're like, well, I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing and I'm making the payments and I feel like I get absolutely nowhere. Yeah, it's designed for you to get absolutely nowhere.
Exactly.
Like, that's what it's designed to do. So I would love for total reform to happen so that younger generations are not going through the exact same thing that my graduating class and so many classes, you know, went after. They're delaying buying homes. They're delaying getting married. They're delaying having children because financially it would just be irresponsible to try to take on any of those massive milestones in life if they choose to pursue them while also still having this debt. So just as I want better for all the students coming after me, I think a lot of these players, you know, that came before the current generation and the current stars, I think they want everything for them. I think they want more for them. If there is some resentment, like, listen, I get it because, like, man, I worked my tail off and I never even had this opportunity. You didn't. And sometimes we just have to, all the time, we just have to play with the cards we're dealt. And so
exactly,
it just wasn't the era in which you were born, unfortunately, for NIL and things. Then, you know, it does suck. But I love when you see the legends of the game continue to support, continue to be there, continue to pour into the women, whether it be in the WNBA, whether it be in Unrivaled, whether it be, you know, within AU. So I think there's a healthy appreciation for kind of where the game is now for women.
Yeah, I think that's beautiful. Definitely, as you said, leave the game better, in a better position of where it started for me, right, for the next generation. And even taking it back to having signature shoes, now, I have a fun question for you. So being someone that I see as a veteran in sneaker culture, we see you everywhere. You know the different silhouettes. You can call them by name. You know the history. I'm like, but you know what? Have you ever thought about a dream shoe for you? What is TJ's signature shoe? What does it look like? What's the story behind it?
I have not. Listen, I'll say this. I think when you're younger, just like everyone dreams that they're going to take the winning shot, right, in game 7 of the finals. Just like you dream that, oh, like I'm going to have my moment where I sign with whatever my dream college is, right? That doesn't happen for a lot of us because we are not as great of athletes as we thought we were. But I can admit that I think over the years when I was younger, I may have thought like, oh my God, like what if I got this sneaker? And that's why we all spent hours on Nike's website on, Nike by you. And I want to we created shoes that never came to life. I had so many shoes that were saved that I thought that I wanted. I will say this, shockingly, there was one time where I think like I made a shoe in Nike by you or something similar. And I made it, and one of my friends ended up like actually just gifting me a pair, which I thought was super dope and super cool. And then I've created some, like I created a Michigan inspired Air Max 270. And then I just recently, I think I ended up giving that away to somebody as well, to another Michigan fan, because that model just did not work for my feet anymore. But I can't pinpoint like what a silhouette for me would necessarily look like. The only thing I could tell you, it has to be comfortable and it would have to be low profile, because that is mainly what I'm wearing. I've noticed for a lot of the shoes that I've given away or I've gotten rid of or I just shy away from now, unless it is like a Jordan 1 high, I'm not wearing a lot of higher profile shoes like anymore. Like most of them are comfortable retro runners, or I have the Stray Logan Puff, and so that's more of a skater low profile shoe with like the much thicker tongue than Nike SB Dunk Low. So I know like my favorite elements of different shoes. How that comes together in like a signature shoe for me, I'm not sure. Also, I don't know if I would possibly want to go down that road, because my God, the criticism that would come, one, of why in the hell do you have a signature shoe?
But why not?
Why in the hell do you have that? Look, no, that's what Shake would say. Shake would immediately say, why not? Just like his agency.
Yeah.
Why not? He would say, why not? But he also laughed at all the crap that I had to take for years over Yeezys. Okay. So it was comical to him of what I had to go through then. But yeah, the people going, oh my, what do you have a shoe for? Why do you have a shoe? I would get so fatigued at possibly hearing that, because no one has to question why Asia Wilson has a shoe. Okay, we don't have to question that. Just knowing like, and listen, you one, I know what leak culture is like because I just had to talk about it in the A2 video. Okay, Asia fans were spared leak culture in sneakers for her one. Because like I was able to see a sneak peek of it early, and and somebody said, hey, make sure this does not get out before the official drop day, which I was like, of course, like I'm never about to break embargo for anything. But I know that leaks can unfortunately make or break something, right? Like Jack talked about, Nike made sure to control the narrative and the rollout of what the story on the A2 was going to be. They didn't let people run wild with the leaks, because there was one media outlet that leaked and put the A2 out before she officially put the Paris video out. And people had their thoughts on it. Some diehard fans were like, I'm not sharing that until she shares it. I made the decision that I wasn't going to speak on it until it officially came out from Nike Basketball, or her, just out of respect of wanting to see what was the intention behind the actual rollout. Because they did it in a major way of it being done in pairs, of her being true to herself, being funny, being out there, being unapologetic. I loved all of it. And so, yeah, like not knowing, oh my God, if this leaks and it's bad, like first off, if the reception isn't good before it even comes out, I'm going to be like, let's just shut this down. Let's just close shop.
Yeah. Yes.
Let's bow out now. Okay. There's no need to just keep running into the fire if that's what it's gonna be. So I don't know. I don't know if that would even be the road I would go down because I think so often when you're into sneakers, that's like the automatic thing. Like, oh my God, like you should get a shoe or don't you want a shoe? And it's like that is one lane you could take, but in having been behind the scenes, right? Or helping with the actual rollouts for the shoe, like having helped Shake roll out 414 day, the very first pair, you know, helping with the content for behind the scenes ahead of launch day, helping with the actual launch and seeing the excitement of people to be there to support him and to support the community and everything that he's doing. Like some of those things end up being more fulfilling than, you know, having your own shoe, because that does end up being sometimes like that flash in the pan. And then also kind of like, you know, that's it. And that's done. Or you drop one and then it's the repeat question. Okay, so are you going to drop something else or whatever? And sometimes it's like that one singular chapter of dropping a shoe, like maybe that's all it was meant to be. And so, yeah.
I like those. I personally like things that are just very definitive.
Yeah.
And like you have this special moment and then that's it.
Yeah, that's it.
Right? I know fans always want the follow up, but I'm like, no, what if someone who has contributed as much as you have to sneaker culture just gets that one shoe and we're like, wow, that's great. I want another one, but it's like, no, TJ's like, that's it.
Man, listen, I've had people ask like, oh, because I did the, you know, act your age, not your shoe size. Like I had merch for that one time and somebody was like, oh, did you drop it again? No, probably not. That was one of the things. You just had to be there for it.
That's true. And it takes a lot too. People don't know, like, you know, I have friends who are designers who've made their own like t-shirts and things of that nature. I'm like, it's a whole supply chain thing and getting the orders out. And then like, if the order doesn't come out right, then they're going to flame you for it. You know,
it's not happening. I will never forget, like in my mind, I even had like the thought of like a custom hoodie because I became known as just like the person that had way too many hoodies, which I have, right? I've definitely gone north of 50, 60 hoodies at any given time. I remember like a few years ago, I wore a different hoodie every single day in a month in October just to prove that
That's a lot of hoodies.
It's a lot. And then I have poor influences because people close to me will be like, how dare you? There's no such thing as too many hoodies. And I'm just like, this is what I get for saying steal his hoodies all the time. This is what I get. This is the energy.
I was in support. I was like the one guy that was like, hey, look, you got that special lady in your life?
Listen.
If you wake up and the hoodie's gone, just accept it.
You did your job. If she wants your hoodie, like you, listen, men, you are in. Okay? If she takes your hoodie, you are in. Like, we'll just want nobody's hoodie, okay? We just don't. So you are in. Now, just explain to your sons, okay? If he comes home and he's like, oh yeah, she asked for my hoodie. Explain to him how he's not getting that hoodie back. I just need you to explain to little bro that
the you know, now I know we talk about but I know we talk about kids and like the prices of things. I will say this. There was like one woman who was like, her son came home, didn't have a hoodie, but it was like some like Jordan hoodie. I was like, oh yeah, the girl I like at school took the hoodie. Mom was kind of like, yeah, mom was sorry, but you gotta go get that hoodie
tomorrow. Yeah. When you come back in this house tomorrow, I expect you to have that hoodie, okay? And then listen, I'm pretty sure for us, that's probably how parents felt about like North Face or Letterman jackets. Like, if I just dropped all of this money on your jacket, because that's what my mom was like. So I passed up going to homecoming, I think like my sophomore year or something like that, because I wanted my varsity Letterman jacket. Like I lettered as a freshman. So my mom was like, okay, you can go ahead and get your varsity coat. That was a $500 varsity coat because I custom designed the back and everything. And so she was like, you can have homecoming or the coat. You can't have both. And so I will never forget. I looked at the guy I was dating. I said, so by the way, I will not be attending homecoming. Okay. And then my close friends, because, you know, they would have my locker combination. I would go into my locker mid-class and the coat is just gone. And then I'm walking by and like one of my friends on my track team, she has it on. And I'm just like, oh, cool. Did you get cold? And she's like, yeah. And I'm like, okay. But I remember I better not ever, ever, never not come home with this $500 coat. Okay.
That's a
Because I will
fact.
be back outside trying to go to whoever has it and trying to get that coat. So I don't blame moms. If it's an expensive hoodie, yeah, go ahead and get that hoodie back because he didn't pay for it. Now, when it's his own hoodie and, you know, he's paid that money, then fine, then cool. Men, if you're so concerned about it, like go buy 2 hoodies. But I'm just gonna
Yeah.
I'm gonna let you know this though. You need to wear the hoodie so that it smells like you, and then you're gonna give it to her. It's not just that it's your hoodie, okay? It smells like you also.
Yep.
That's important.
That's a fact because I remember going to my girl's place when we first started talking. I had like 2 different essentials like jackets. Man, one day she got cold. She was like, "Oh, can I borrow the jacket?" Like, all right, cool.
You will never get
Man, I didn't see those jackets for like the next couple of weeks. I said, "Yo, where's that essentials jacket at?" She's like, "Oh, I got it.
It's in her closet. Listen, it has its own little home in her closet now. It's been accepted as one of the girls. Okay, it's in there. The hoodie is in there. Like, even if you've aggravated her at some point during the day, she still got the hoodie. The hoodie is still good.
Oh yeah.
Hoodie's
I finally saw that. I finally saw that jacket. Like I think it was like yesterday. I was like, "Oh, I forgot about it. I forgot we had that jacket."
You know what? As you
but
should,
you know,
because it's no longer yours. Just like Asia Wilson still
yeah,
all of BAM stuff. And I remember a man was like, "So it don't matter what a woman do or how much money she makes, she gonna take your stuff and will." That is literally part of the contract, okay? Like, and will. That is exactly what we will do. So yes, if you clearly see Asia Wilson, she done cut BAM's Miami Heat sweat.
Oh, facts. Oh, facts.
Off, okay, she walking through the tunnel in the very jersey that he had on not 2 nights ago in his own tunnel fit. Now it's a running joke. Like we're on Threads and it's a running joke, and we're like, if we see BAM in something, I'm always like, I give it about 3 business days. 3 business days, and we're gonna see Asia with that item on, because you know what? That's love, and that's exactly what happened. So yeah, like for me, I thought like, oh my god, a custom hoodie, like it'll zip on the side, it'll have these, you know, hidden inner pockets and different things, and then, you know, I wanted to have it cut down the middle. Like I wanted like all these little DIY things that I want done to my hoodies or different elements of my favorite hoodies. And then I thought about how much it would be for like the cut and sew process of just one hoodie, of like just a sample. And I was like, you know, it's not that deep or necessary. And like when I would go through, and maybe this is when I became known for more style and fashion and not just sneakers and like the whole essentials era, people would be like, oh, it'd be so dope if you just, you know, created your own clothing brand. And I think people automatically default to like, because you like fashion, then that's exactly what you should do. And it's like, no, I appreciate the people's mind to work and understand how all of this is put together. Like my mom can sew and has always been able to sew and create entire outfits. That's just not my ministry. Okay. Now I'll take some scissors and cut the hell out of things. Okay. I will bust the seams on something just to give it a different look. I will crop something in a heartbeat, but it doesn't necessarily mean because I appreciate fashion or I really like it or I'm playing around with different looks that I feel like, oh, well, my next step is to go and design something. No, I don't necessarily have to have a brand. I love for the brands and the people that either create dope merch when it comes to women's basketball or, you know, women's hockey or soccer. I love just wearing their things like I do. Like there are, for example, Dead Dirt by Dominique Wells or Dom Wells. She has an amazing NWSL collection, and like NWSL just kicked back off this weekend for women's professional soccer. And I have like one of her pieces, and it's like, listen, her mind works in ways I don't think mine would ever work. Okay, so let me just appreciate what she put out. Okay, like I was able to get one of the items that she had from Complex Con, and it was only there for NWSL, and it is amazing, and I love it. Like I paired it with the John Geiger 005. Absolutely love it. And it's like, so I'm happy to show love to the different designers that are already out there doing amazing things. If anything, like, hey, just outfit me. If you want to style me or outfit me, if I'm ever available or if I'm able, like fortunate enough to be invited like courtside or to different events, then cool. Listen, I will put on for you. I got a whole tunnel look ready for you. I just won't be tiny. That's probably not going to be me.
I love that you mentioned the tunnel looks, right? Because that's the fashion runway show, for the NBA and WNBA for sure. But fashion many times like is like to send a message. So you've gone through so many different iterations of styles over time, just like anybody else. But what would you say today your fits say about you?
Ooh, so they are way less branded than they ever were before. If it's not sports related. So if it's sports related and I'm throwing on a jersey, like I just bought a Devin Booker jersey because Fanatics had this insane sale for it was like $14.99. So if it's not a jersey or a team shirt or something of that nature, or like a team hat or something, most of what I buy, it's minimally branded or it's not branded at all. And that is such a stark 180 from my essentials era because you knew what I was wearing a mile away. Like you knew it was either essentials on the front or it was right on the side or it was on the back. You knew exactly what it was. And now, for example, so I moved into pairing slacks with a lot of sneakers and a lot of they're not necessarily statement jackets, but the way in which they fit and they drape, I feel like makes the outfit just in itself. And so I'm gravitating towards like, how does the jacket fit or how does the cardigan fit? Like, is it giving me the right proportions? Is it oversized enough? I'm learning to not shop my size, like not buy my actual size. And shout out to Jade Fox for that because she was like, listen, stylish people don't buy their size. They buy smaller or they buy larger because they're buying for the fit, not their size. So if I want something oversized, like I've moved into that true medium where like medium isn't oversized really on me anymore. Medium is just what I actually wear. And so it's like if I want an oversized look, I have to get a large a lot of times now to be able to get the exaggerated look that I may want. Now, not so exaggerated.
I just want to shout out and interrupt and say that's all those games in the gym.
Yeah.
That's what we see. That's all that. I mean, like, how are you supposed to fit those massive muscles inside of like that small?
And you know what? I'm
shirt,
going to go through like people are like, oh, like you're cleaning out your closet because I redid my entire closet wall back here and put everything back in boxes. But like I've been going through a closet clean out of my clothes, and it's because the smalls don't fit anymore. So I've had to go through the heartbreaking separation of like my favorite. It can be sweatpants, it can be joggers, it can be t-shirts, or I had to get rid of a Ralph Lauren chambray shirt because it was a slim fit size small. And I was like, yeah, this is not going to cut it no more. Like, this is not fitting. This is not it. Like my arms are suffocating in this shirt. So let me just go ahead and pass this along. So it's great. Like if you're in the gym in 2026, if this was really your year to get healthy, to take control and take charge, in the kitchen and in the gym, and you're being consistent, I love that for you, but also set aside some coins to be able to buy a different wardrobe. Okay? Because there's a really good chance
absolutely.
it's just not going to fit the same. And you're going to love what you're seeing in yourself, but you're going to have to like get different clothes because having ill-fitting clothing does nothing for the body that you've actually worked really hard for in the gym. And so, now it's, oversized. So I'm buying larger to get the oversized fit that I want. It's not necessarily branded. If I find something that I love and like the fit or style of a jacket, I will buy multiple colors of it and kind of rotate that through. And so, it's a lot of slacks, commence jackets. Commence has seen so much of me lately because there's a certain vintage loose trench that I have that I absolutely love. Zara has seen quite a bit of me. Just because they have balloon slacks that I absolutely love with just like the shape and the body of them and the way they fall. And I pair a lot of slacks with a lot of sneakers. Like if you guys ever take a look at, a New Balance lookbook when they have pairs come out and you see a lot of menswear, which you'll see this with Kith and ALD and Ralph Lauren too. But you'll see menswear, which I love women in menswear. I blame Maya for that. You see menswear paired with sneakers, like that's a look that I love. Like right now, I already have a fit in mind. I'm like, okay, sneakers, slacks, an oversized cable knit sweater, and like a knit beanie as we're kind of moving still into this like colder, spring weather, late winter weather. And then thinking, oh, okay, well, have the slacks and actually just have oversized suit pants and bottom put on a lace crop, because women, that is just an easy hack for us to be able to bring something together. And it's like, that works too. So that's kind of where my style is now. I buy way more button down or button up shirts. I'll buy the oversized blazer. I'll buy the slacks. I'll buy the baggier cargo pants and some statement jackets, whether it's like a bomber jacket, a leather jacket. And I like to just rotate through between those, because I think people always assume it's the graphic shirts or different things, which I have tons of those, and I have tons of things that are also like team related. But if I'm not in that, I'm in things that are much more understated, but they just look really well. They coordinate really well. The textures go together. I may play around with like a color palette generator and look at colors that I would have never put together before. And, you know, I based it, like I have a whole series now where it's called, you know, We Got Clothes at Home. And that's inspired by the notorious Kia. So she was in her closet at home and she wanted this look. It was like this runway look. And she's like, you know what? But we got clothes at home. Like, I can make this work at home. So she took a trench and she cut it like straight across so that it was cropped. And then I think she put on like a white Oxford, and she might have put on like a skirt to go with it. But it was like 1-to-1 really this look, but she just repurposed what she already had at home to be able to save money. And also, when you are a creator like full time and you've established yourself like her, she's on so many different PR lists. She's getting, I can guarantee you, clothes and shoes in by the week.
Oh, for sure.
So it's so difficult. Like, I've been blessed to receive quite a few things. And I think that's the other part, that if you do reach that level where you've made the connections and people are interested in your opinion and your thoughts, and they want to send you things to see how you'll like them, it becomes this balance that you have to find of, what am I spending my money on and bringing into my closet, as well as what are other people sending me, and how does my closet not become completely overran with things that I'm not wearing. Like, part of me trying to get rid of stuff is, it's like, one, it becomes overwhelming, because if things are not organized and they all don't have a place, then it becomes very overwhelming to me and I just get frustrated. And then I also think about, if I had to move tomorrow, I would just break down and cry.
Yeah, like, it's a lot. It's accumulated a lot.
Let's say I chose to apply to like a dream role or something, right? Even though the job market is complete trash. But let's just say I chose to apply to like a dream role or something. And they're like, great, we want you to start immediately and we'll even relocate you. I would be like, the way my closet is set up.
Ooh, it takes some time.
I'm gonna need some time. I'm gonna need y'all to work with your girl.
Just ask them if they're willing to pay for relocation expenses. And listen, there you go, right?
But here's the thing. So I think about that constantly. Like, what if I choose to move? It's like, how much do you want to move? Because moving is one of like the top 3 worst things that you have to deal with, to me, like outside of actual like real life tragedies. Having to move is one of the top 3 worst things. And understanding how much you accumulate, because it's just human nature, especially in America, we fill the space that we have. Knowing that I've clearly, like, I filled the space, and then I've looked at people and I'm like, so who let me feel like this whole space in this closet? Like, why? Like who let me do this? And so now it's trying to undo all of the years of shopping and, me trying to let go of, as a creator. I may think, oh my God, this goes so well together. And then a year could go by and it'll pop up in my phone that, oh, Google Photos, 1 year ago today, you styled this. And Google Photos will remind me, you haven't worn that item in like a year.
Yeah.
So I'm like, why am I holding on to it? Is there something else in my closet that I can make work? Or it was truly one outfit. I'm pretty sure, TJ, you can survive without that one outfit. And so that's how I've been able to let go of a lot of things. Either it doesn't fit anymore, or Google Photos will pop up and let me know I wore it so many years ago. And I'm like, that's interesting. I haven't reached for it since. And so that's like a sign that I should just go ahead, and let this go. And so I love where my style is. Like, it's not uncommon for me. Let's say I want to throw on, cargo pants, an Oxford shirt, a jersey, and oversized blazer on top. And like, I'm good to go. Like I did that. And that wasn't a style that I was doing before, but I kept seeing it over and over again. And I'm like, maybe it'll work for me. I'll try it. And so it's actually when I got this hat in, or something close to it. But I was inspired because I got in a Paige Becker's jersey in last year when she was in the tournament, and I'm like, okay, so I'm gonna rock that jersey. I got the Oxford, I got the cargo pants, I got the blazer, I got the Timbs, and it just all came together. And I'm just like, oh, like this could be a whole uniform. And that's kind of what I'm trying to get into now, like with the few jackets. So like when I found the one commence jacket that looked really good, I bought it in 2 more colors. I found a pair of denim that fit really well that wasn't distressed. Because I've been known for having like distressed, blown out denim all the time. But it's kind of like, I don't always want that. Like sometimes I just want regular denim. Like I want my legs to not be cold all the time when I go outside. So I found a pair of denim that fit, and I was like, cool, give me 2 different colors of those so that I'm good. I found, a pair of slacks I love. Cool, give me 2 different colors. And now just based off like, let's say the 6 new pairs of pants that I have 4 or 5 new jackets, and then my staple shirts. I could truly just rotate through those and like be fine. And like I travel a lot now these days, and what traveling has taught me, especially if you travel at all from like, let's say a week to 2 weeks at a time, you're able to live with so much less when you have to. Like I don't have access to this whole closet if I'm traveling, and I do just fine. And I'm okay. Like the world doesn't come crashing down. I'm more than okay. And I think in traveling, it helps you when you return home. It helps you realize, oh yeah, I can more easily detach from this stuff because I lived without it for however long. I'm okay. So I think that's been helpful. Experiencing just regular life with people you care about and experiences. I think it helps you more easily get rid of the stuff that's not really serving a purpose anymore. So that's been the journey right now as I get in stuff that does really work with this chapter that I'm in. It's like getting rid of the stuff that just no longer fits.
Yeah, that brings me to a question. I saw that T-Pain said one time, he said, I regretted buying the chain that he nicknamed the big ass chain. And he also regretted buying a Bugatti for all the issues that came with it and how expensive it was.
Yeah.
So when you look at some of your big purchases, ones that were like, okay, this is a little bit more money, but I really, really want to get this item or this piece. Do you have any that you regret?
I don't regret. So I don't have regrets in like the money spent, and maybe it was because the utility that I didn't get out of it. So not thinking through the utility of the item is something that I regret. So I'll use the Fear of God one, for example. So that was a grail shoe for me. Like a lot of people may have, like, I have a friend and she just got her cause for it in. So she got the grail that she had wanted for so long. I wanted a Fear of God one. Like to me, that was a grail of grail pair, and I wanted it so badly. And so instead of just dishing out the money for it, because it retailed for $350, and on the resale market back then it was anywhere from $600 to like $1,000. It really just depended on your size.
Oh, I remember.
Yeah, now
I wanted a pair too because I saw you with them.
now it's totally, listen, I'm over here being a poor influence. Now it's totally different just because like even the yellow pair, I think it was on eBay for like less than $300. So we're totally different market now for those shoes versus then. But back then, of course, we're in the height of kind of Jerry Mania, and so I knew it was like $700. So I'm like, okay, how do I go about this where it doesn't feel like it's just kind of a kick in the budget? Because I still want to do other things. I still want to buy other things. And, I was somebody that went to the movies all the time too. So I'm like, I want to enjoy life, but I still want to get this shoe. So I set up a sinking fund where I would put aside $65 every single month towards this shoe. So then once we got to, the end of the year, I could easily drop money on that model, not have any issues with it, no problems with it. And so that's what I did. I actually just made it an exercise on my channel. And I was like, hey, here you go. So you guys can see me consistently holding myself accountable. And I would put like the $65 cash on screen. here it is, paired with last month's and the months before that. And so when we got near the end, I was like, hey, you guys can vote. Now it was funny because I would give them options of what I want, like options I was willing to pay that money on, but they all voted mostly for the Fear of God one. Like that was the shoe they were like, no, we know you want this shoe. So I was like, cool. So I got it. I was so beyond excited for it. But it is kind of what they say. Once you get what you've been yearning for so long, you may realize you don't have as much use for it as you thought you would, because it is a statement shoe. That is not an everyday, I'm going to run to Kroger, I'm going to run in the bank, I'm going to run in the movies with my friends. Like, that's not what that shoe is. Like, I threw that shoe on when I went to like Black Footwear Forum, because we went to, you know, the VIP mixer the one year. And so I'm wearing that shoe. But it's like, outside of that, when else am I really wearing it? Outside of content. It's just not a very wearable shoe. And once that hit me, I was like, oh my God, I spent $700 and some on a shoe that's barely being worn. That was the regret, not really weighing the utility of the shoe, not weighing that when you work from home, you're not even really in shoes. And I wish people got this when they don't understand why I also buy less shoes now. Like, I'm beyond grateful for every connection that I may have in the industry. It doesn't matter the brand or the person, and where they think of me when a pair comes out, and or they mention my name in a room and I have pairs provided to me. I love it because, one, that always reinstills in me to continue to pay it forward when I'm getting rid of pairs. That's why I give away so many pairs. But I buy less because I'm like, guys, I'm at home so much. You do not, I am at home all the time. So when they're like, what did you wear? What was on foot today? A pair of slides, a pair of house slippers, a pair of socks, probably the Mine 001, because I did go out and buy that. So like, but I keep that pair indoors. I don't have a pair for outdoors yet. So like, my plan is to get a pair for outdoors, and then I'll have that pair separately. But it's like, I'm not, there are so many days where I'm in whatever shoes I'm wearing in the gym to go run or go walk after I lift, and I'm in like UGG slippers. I'm like, I don't know what y'all want from me. Like,
yeah.
And it's like, I'm not throwing on an off-white Jordan 4 to go do a grocery run. Like, I know we need to romanticize our lives, but I'm not doing it to that extent when I just need to go grocery shopping. Maybe if like I'm going on a trip or something somewhere, then it's like, sure, okay, like depending on the pairs that I'll pack, that can make sense. But it was just impractical. So my purchases aren't regrets because of what I spent. It's because they were impractical purchases, just for my lifestyle. So like, I sold.
And that's usually how the bad purchases get made, is because, like you said, you made it a dream inside your head. You hyped it up. You put it on a pedestal.
Oh, yeah.
And then you finally were able to do the thing that you couldn't do before. And for me, that was getting my first Louis V duffel. I was like, I wanted a Louis V duffel, and finally got that tech job, XYZ, and, you know, still responsible. I said, I'm not buying the bag until I can put the same amount that the bag cost in my Roth IRA first. So once I put that money there first and I saved it up again, then I bought it. Got it, used it, took it on a trip, went to the Bahamas with it, all this stuff, felt fancy. That thing sits in the closet 90% of the year.
Man, listen.
I'm like, you know, like, yeah.
You knew you were not traveling. You knew you were not on a flight every single month to justify it. But it doesn't matter. Like, in that moment, you want what you want and you get it. And then reality sets in. It is not what you thought it was.
Correct.
It was the same thing for me with student loans. Like, I always thought like, I'm going to get to the light at the end of the tunnel. And when I'm there, oh my God, I have so much more money that I can put towards, you know, whatever I want. Like every shoe, all these shoes that I passed on that I could have paid resale for, I'm going to go back and get all. Like, there was a time where I had both of the original, Union Jordan 1 collabs. I had them on wish list. Like, there was a time, and those things were going for like $1,300, $1,500 in my size. And I was just like, oh, boy. I'm like, oh, it'll take nothing. It'll take no time for me to have that money. As I got closer to that date, and I had a campaign I had an influencer campaign that I did. Money hit my account. As soon as it hit my account, hit the final payoff for the loan, I just sat there in shock, stunned. And the first thing I thought about had zero to do with sneakers. It
Correct.
had nothing to do with sneakers. And I think that ended up becoming the bigger surprise when I was finally more able to do everything I thought I wanted to do. I was no longer willing to do it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's like, I mean, that's it becomes like a wake up. And I think people misconstrue it. They're like, oh, you don't care about sneakers anymore. You're not passionate about it. Like, you don't love the game anymore. And it's like, your desire for something, or more so, my passion for consumption, yes, it did change. It changed towards sneakers. It's still evolving when it comes to clothing. And I think that's because I'm just going through this different phase of what I'm really, really loving, and the styles that I also think will just last and last and last me a little bit better and longer. But it's like, when it comes to shoes, it's like, no, you're right. I don't have a desire to be stressed out at 10 o'clock on a Saturday morning. I don't.
No. I think it's about being more selective, right? I think it's over time, you know, what you learn is, you know, especially coming from, you know, our era, where it was about being different. We wanted to stand out. We wanted to learn and create our own style, whether it was simple or maybe more extravagant. But either way, as we get older, we're just like, what truly matters to us in our daily lives? And so, yeah, you can love sneakers. You can love all the stories behind them, the people they represent who have a signature shoe. But it's like, hey, if I don't have the money all the time to be spending to get every single item, and if you do and you have the money, that's a blessing for you. But everyone does not have the money to do that.
I mean, listen, and it's been the consistent message, like, and I think that's what's always like funny. Like, I'll try to ask friends, like, it's not just me, right? Like what is happening here? Because one, I don't want someone to start doing something just because I'm doing it, right? Again, we come from this era of being individual. So if I made the decision to pull back, it's no different than when I was chasing 4 or 5 sneakers at a time. I was sharing that with you all on screen. Now I'm sharing that I may only buy 4 pairs of sneakers in the entire year. I'm still sharing the story that's true to myself. It's just simply shifted. The quantity has shifted. You know, my household that I am, like, that bar has slid from a little to extra. Okay.
Yep.
And so it's like, yeah, like, you're able to see that I'm not buying as many. I still cheer for everyone to get the shoe that they want. I wish you all the best. I, you know, try to help friends to be able to get pairs because, you know, I don't want them. Like, for me, and I will never forget. So Undefeated 4 comes back. Of course, everyone loses their mind. There was a time where I probably would have lost my mind too, but because that shoe dropped in 2025, no, absolutely not. It just didn't matter. And then based on the price, and I was just like, I barely wear the 4s I own right now. And they're more comfortable 4s because women's 4s tend to just be more comfortable. The off-white 4 is more comfortable than traditional 4s. The women's Canyon Purple 4 is more comfortable than any of the white cement 4s I've owned and in the bread 4 that I still own right now. And so I just thought it would make no sense to spend the money on this shoe. Like, I couldn't justify it. I would be so frustrated in having to then get rid of that shoe later on and taking the hit, of course, too, when you're just trying to get rid of it. So I was like, no, I don't want it. I was like, I'm not paying this for that. So since I'm not doing it, friend automatically said, well, can you help me? Sure. What else? I'm not doing anything else. Sure. I don't have a problem. Enter a raffle. You never think you're going to hit. I hit. Now the narrative is, oh, I thought you didn't want the shoe. The shoe was 6 sizes bigger than what I wear. So please tell me what I'm doing with the shoe.
Exactly.
Like, what am I? They're like, oh, well, you said you weren't going to get it, so you probably just resold it. You believe whatever helps you sleep at night, but I wasn't even home when the shoe arrived, I had to reroute it via UPS to go to the actual friend's address because I was like, I'm not even home. I'm living my life. Like, we all know Undefeated took forever to be able to ship those pairs. I had things to do. I had life to live. I had a summer to enjoy. So I wasn't even home. But everybody and their mom had something to say because I said I didn't want the shoe. I didn't see the value in it for me, but I didn't have a problem helping somebody else. So I was like, you know what? At this point, friends can reach out and ask for help. And I'm more than willing because I can bet you the shoes that they're going after, I probably have no interest in buying. I just don't. The things that I'm interested in are pairs that are available. I'm able to possibly go on the site weeks later and buy it at my leisure, or maybe I'll walk into a Dick's Sporting Goods when the A2s drop. I'll try a pair on to figure out sizing, and I'll get the colorway that really works for me. You know, beyond, because I already have the pink one, so I'm just going for a different one that's not the pink beam initially coming out. But I'm like, that's just what I'll do, because apparently now it has to be capped if you don't want a pair.
See, there's always these narratives, and again, I know we're coming up on time, and it's just, I think that's another thing with content creation is like, you put stuff out there, you say anything out there, whether it be a tweet, a video, or anything, and then people have their different opinions about it. And it's like, I learned from one of the guests that I had on, I think it was Brianna Beats, a DJ, and she said, remember that your fans are not your friends. And so these people who are trying to act like they know you, like, well, you said this and you said that, and that's what you did it. And even if you explain it to them, as you mentioned, they still want to come up with a reason to be right and like fight you on it. And it's just like, bro, we don't know each other. But I want to kind of get there and talk about overall your success and really just give you your flowers on that. It takes a lot to stay consistent, right? Because you talked about processes earlier in the conversation and staying consistent. And when I'm looking at your channel stats, I mean, 10 years of being on YouTube, over 11 million views, and over 50,000 subscribers. So when you take a look at that, you know, is this kind of how you saw things planning out? Did you always feel like you were going to get this big? But also, do you have any advice and lessons learned for any other people who are trying to start their content creator journey?
Oh my God. What do I tackle first? One, thank you so much for the flowers. I have a hat that says, like, you deserve your flowers. So I appreciate it really and truly. I always joke and tell people in videos, like, if you're aspiring to do YouTube or something, actually do better than me. I would always tell people, like, be a better creator than what I am, because if you're looking at the grand scheme of, like, even sneaker YouTube, right? So that is still considered vastly small. It really is. Like, when you think about the massive channels that have been at it for a very, very long time, or even a short time, you can be at it for a short time. If you play the game by the sneaker YouTube blueprint, then you have a much better chance of blowing up, right? So there was a time in which, when I was buying 4 to 5 pairs of sneakers a month, when I was buying all of the essentials I wanted, yeah, the views are there, right? So that it was nothing to have 1,000 subscribers gained in a month. Like, that was the monthly average at once. And then when you simply start to step away from the blueprint, which is to buy, show, and by the time you're done editing the video for this shoe, the other shoe has just touched down, and now you're starting this process all over again, which leaves you actually no time to be able to appreciate these shoes for what they are, or why you think or claim that you care about them. Once you take a step back from that, and even though life gets more simple, there's more money in your pocket, or you're just diverting that money to other things, you're no longer following the sneaker YouTube blueprint, though, which I was never fully following it anyway, because I'm over here telling you to be responsible with money, not blow all your rent money on sneakers. And so, because I pulled back, that also means your views end up pulling back, unless you want to consistently talk about every single hype shoe, or unless I wanted to consistently talk about something that could be controversial or something that could be a hot take, which means I also have to deal with the negative and the trolls if I choose to go that route, which I absolutely didn't want to. I had to contend with knowing all of this is going to slow down because you're remaining true to whatever season of life or buying or sneakers that you may personally be in. And it's not following what the search engine is showing that everybody is interested in. It's not following the release calendar. And so I knew, and I had to accept, like, ego wise, just be prepared to take the hit. So everything slowed down. And so when it slowed down, I was like, oh, okay, cool. I'm still just going to create what it is that I want to create, shift it how I want to shift it, right? Even when you can see the views and things slow down, I think then it becomes about, are you actually fulfilled in the content that you're making? Because one, the blueprint to success, a lot of times, if it's sneaker or YouTube, it's to show the shoe early. But I also just did a video on, does it make sense or is it worth it to pay for the early shoe? Because you're basing all of that on having to get a certain amount of views to pay for the shoe. So, like, for example, if we're talking about, like, RPM of what you'll get paid, let's say, like, I think I did the example, it's like $7. And let's say you paid $350 or something for a shoe. Okay, so how many views do you have to get to make back that $350? And it comes to like 50,000 views is the math, essentially. So it's like, if that video doesn't hit 50,000 views, you've taken an L on that early shoe. So now you're in the red on the shoe. If you put it on a credit card and you don't pay that off before the next statement hits, now you're paying interest while taking an L and being in the red on this shoe because the views weren't what you hoped that they were going to be. And so now it's like, okay, well, you can sell the shoe and recoup some of that money, or, sell it and maybe even make a small profit. But it's like, okay, so what about when $1,000 is paid for a very hype shoe? Because you do know that the views will be there, but they have to hit, like, it's non-negotiable. So I think the math for that, like, if it's $1,000, you would have to have $143,000 views on that video for it to make sense to recoup your money. And you don't get to control that. And that was the one thing I realized. Like, there were times, and I just said this in the video, but I shared it with Q to Queen because she's one of the other few, women that does sneaker YouTube. And I was just like, reviews, I'm okay to admit, they're exhausting. Like, I'm okay to admit now, sneaker reviews have actually reached a point of exhaustion. Now, it may just be from my end because I go through the unboxing and the on foot and putting on 3 outfits, which that's a whole lot. I don't know if people know that. Doing 3 outfits because you need to have a setup for that. And then when you're done, you need to edit, probably do voiceovers. You need to do a thumbnail. You need to figure out the title. You need to do all the back end stuff and then upload it. By the time that happens, I'm ready to throw that shoe across the room. Like, I don't even want to look at the shoe at that, which is unfortunate because now I'm so excited about the shoes that, I get in either by their gifted, because there are some shoes I will turn away, or I'll get them in and I'm like, great, but I'll gift them away if I know I won't wear them. I gifted away a Jordan 3. I gifted away a Jordan 1 Low because I personally knew I would never wear those pairs. So I just paid it forward to viewers. But It's like, it's daunting. It's a lot. It becomes a lot. And so I knew that, like, okay, I'm going to pull back. My life will be easier. But now the struggle or the process, having to have a system in place, I have to always be kind of viewing what's happening in the landscape, what conversations are people having, to decide what is the next topic I want to hit, what's the next angle I want to come at something from, because I don't have the low-hanging fruit of a new sneaker being just the video I make. So that's kind of the sacrifice that I chose to make. I could have just kept following the easy blueprint, but I also would have just been buying shoes that I don't want and I don't care about. And that feels...
But also, you wouldn't be you.
No, I wouldn't be me. It feels extremely disingenuous. I watch all of my peers like viewers do. I'm a consumer of YouTube just as much as anybody else. I watch everything, pretty much everything. So Okay, most things. There are like certain creators I watch all the time. Some, I'm sorry, I can't get to y'all because I like true crime and other commentary channels. Sorry, I have to split my time with sneaker YouTube and other lanes. But like, I'll read the comments, and some viewers will say, "Oh my god, it just feels like this person or that person. It just feels like you hype up everything, or everything is great. So then, like, what isn't great? Like, what do you actually like or not like?" And I remember and seeing that under people's videos, and I'm like, okay, I don't ever want that said about me, because I want you to know there is there is some discernment here in what I like and what I don't like, what I like and what what I will wear and what I won't wear. And so that's why when people are like, "Oh, you're not going," or "You should go for this," and I'm like, "No, I'm cool," and they're like, "No, no, no," like I'm saying, you won't regret it. No, I absolutely will regret if I go spend my money on a pair because you love it and you want to see it, right? Like, I have zero issues when, especially when it's someone's full-time job, right? If it's their full-time job, it is truly their job to try and show you all the shoes. That is their job. So how they're going to approach it is going to be different than how someone else approaches it if it's not their full-time job or if it's never been. Because like, I have no idea like what is end game. Like, my end game was never to be a full-time YouTuber. So it's like, what is end game? There comes a point, clearly I've reached a point where I've slowed down on buying shoes. I've discovered this other blissful way you can go about it. Even if you get shoes in, especially if they're gifted, you don't have to, you can just go live your life in the shoe. It doesn't have to be content, which means if it's not content, no one has to have an opinion on it. And I would notice that, like, you could, you see somebody, you're like, "Oh, I didn't know you had those." And they're just like, "Yeah," it's like nothing. And they just keep going with the conversation. And it reminds you that a lot of people just live their life either buying the things that they buy, having the connections that they have, they get the item in, they tell that person thank you. The gratitude is shown to that person. It doesn't have to be publicized, and they just go about their day. And they throw it in a fit, and nobody cares. And I'm like, that's, you know what? I might have to start trying that. I might have to start just integrating pairs in, and it's like, yep, here it is. Here's the fit. Bye. And it's like, we can end the discourse over whether it was my pickup, whether it was seated, because like, it's always the conversation of like the haves and the have-nots. And it's like, listen, I don't ever go asking for shoes. If it's on somebody's heart to want to do that, great. If they've liked whatever I've put out into the world enough where they find value in it and they would like to go ahead and make it known through that shoe, great, awesome. I love it and I appreciate it. But it's like, there will come a time where maybe I don't necessarily want to even be in front of the camera in relation to the pickups. And maybe I'm just sharing my thoughts. And people have literally told me to shut my channel down because they're like, well,
I've seen those.
Yeah, they're like, well, just shut it down because you're not buying shoes anymore. Well, it's not called Reviews with TJ. It's called Talks with TJ. So I'm still talking, and it's YouTube. It's for you to watch what you want to watch, and for me to make what I would want to make. Like, what do you want to see on TV, essentially? And it's like, well, this is what I want to put out. You're free to watch what you want to watch. Like, I encourage people, go watch all my peers. Like, there is a creator for everything that you could possibly want. The shoes you want, the lane you want. I might end up talking about pairs that you're not interested in at all, and that's great. I watch tons of videos on shoes I have zero intention of ever buying. Zero intention of ever buying. But the creator is cool. They have a great personality. I like their humor. I like the knowledge that they have. I like the whatever the cinematography or something may be for their videos, right? They've been at this a long time. I have a reverence for them and a ton of respect for them. But it's like, I would tell people at some point, if you're going with a plan so that you don't burn out and you don't try to keep up. Going with a plan that is sustainable for you. Only you know what's sustainable for you. Never go into debt just to make content. I understand that some will like, I'm going to bet the house on myself. Okay, cool. When the bills are due and that bet hasn't come to fruition, I don't want you with the lights off. I don't want you not being able to pay your car note. I don't want you not being able to do the things that you need to do for yourself I understand for some, like, content is this end all be all, but like you got to do it in a smart, sensible, and responsible way. So yeah, have a plan, go about it sensibly. Um, Always remain true to whatever it is, like especially if you're in a place that's based on consumerism, right? Because if you're not in a place where you can buy all of the things to show on screen, that's the same for a lot of, tech creators when they first start out. Maybe they don't have the capital or the rapport built with the company to be able to show everything on screen, right? When you may not have the connections where Apple sent you the new iPhone 17. You may not have those connections where Samsung sent you the new S26. Okay, still share your thoughts. Like eventually they need to be there for you. Your perspective, your personality, your thoughts. Like that's essentially what they're there for, because when it comes to YouTube, the shoe is going to be on everyone's channel. After a while, it gets to, okay, who do I want to hear from?
Yeah.
When it comes to the shoe, I don't want to hear from everybody. I just don't. And that's nothing against anybody. People don't want to hear from me on a ton of shoes. And that's okay. They're going to go to the person and the personality they really want to hear from. That's what you have to continue to deliver on. And you can deliver on that whether you have product in your hand or not. And I'm going to also tell you, you want to be a content creator, great. Also, don't be closed off to the different ways in which you can go about it. Because like you may end up pivoting at some point. It may be from a platform.
Ooh, yeah, the pivot.
It's going to happen. It'll be from a platform. It'll be in just your own preferences, right? My pivot was in the kind of shoes that I wanted to buy. And then it was in how much I'm even buying. And so it pivoted more to style. And some people have said, well, you should just instead like do just finance. But it's like the audience was never here for just finance. So like I could work that in, but it still needs to somewhat center around sneakers. And so that's why style was like a smart pivot to kind of go to. I've thought about doing just a finance channel, but like people starting a whole new channel from the ground up is not easy and takes a ton of time. It's a lot. It's a huge commitment. It's a lot of investment. I remember those days. And it's like,
I think you do a beautiful blend of adding that in now. And it comes at a very, I guess, like crucial time where we are seeing this shift in consumer behavior in real life around us, like across the board. So when you have someone who has showcased all these, different sneakers and fashion, but they're also telling you, hey, let's be responsible about it. And you don't have to get this pair. Like there's no one pressuring you except yourself, right? That, be yourself as you mentioned. Stay true to yourself, because the clothes don't make you. You make the clothes, right? Anybody can have, how many people we know who are not great people to be around, but they have some expensive XYZ item, right? And it's like,
they're the one.
It doesn't matter.
They're the one with the halves. They have the limited shoe. And and it's like that's not making them a better person.
No, not at all. But I know we got soccer to get to, right? So
no, you're good. Listen, on that point, I have one of my favorite. Oh, you're good. My team doesn't play till 8:45. You're good. To that point, like one of my favorite new pickups. So I was supposed to film today. That did not happen. Okay. I sat down to catch up on Bel Air. Did not happen. So for the video that I need to do, it's centered around a shoe, or it's centered around my first pickup. But I'm more excited, I think, about the fact that I stumbled upon a creator on Instagram. She had on this jacket and it just looked like the flyest thing to me. This jacket is $38 from Walmart. This jacket is $38 from Walmart. And I just thought to myself that there's no way this jacket is as good as it looks on in person as it looks on screen. I'm like, there's no way. It has this exaggerated hood. It has a high collar. It has the dope sleeves. I'm just like, there's no way. There's no way. So I go on Walmart. Sure enough, the jacket is sitting there. $38. I'm like, all right, bet. I order it. I try it on. I'm immediately back on Walmart's website and I'm trying to find like the black one was out of stock. And I'm like pushing this. I'm pushing this button, like notify me when the black one's in stock. So I get a few days later, black one's back in stock. Immediately order it. Not even thinking twice about it. So it's like that's the other thing. When people are like, oh, if you're just broke, just say that. I'm like, the way in which, first off, I quite frankly don't care. Because I'm sure I could look at some people's finances and I could be like, wow, did you know that you're spending 10% of your gross on sneakers every month? Oh, by the way, your car note is also more than 10% of your gross every month, but you're not even saving 10% of what you gross every single month. I could call that behavior broke. A
Yeah,
lot of wealthy people would absolutely call that behavior broke, and y'all would be ready to fight them. Y'all would
that's the
be ready
fact.
to fight if they said, hey, what's the balance of your investment portfolio, or what is your 401k looking like?
Talk about it.
Has that already hit six figures? You would be ready to fight if they called you broke because your 401k doesn't have six figures in it. You would get mad if I said, what's your net worth, but let's exclude your house.
Ooh.
Take your house out of it. Because first off, the equity that you have in it based on the square footage, it's not the whole house. It's like a bathroom and maybe the bedroom. Based on amortization, it's not the whole house. So take your home out, and what's your net worth? And then if it's less than mine, how are you going to feel if I call you broke? You're probably not going to like it. So my preference to not spend $200 on a shoe I've already owned, I don't know how many times over, doesn't make sense. It's like, so
That's a fact.
These are not the games that we really want to play. And that's not to say that like, oh, I know that I'm in a better financial position. No, I just know that I'm looking at a completely different frame of reference. And that's why it becomes frustrating, because to you, to have it means what? I need to prove I have it to a bunch of grown men online I will never meet and don't know.
Exactly.
Is that what the men are doing within sneakers when they say that? Like, okay, so you're proving that you have it to a bunch of men who don't know you and don't have anything to do with your life. But that's how you're choosing to like validate all of this. And I'm guessing you're getting upset at me for not wanting the shoe because I'm now invalidating your purchase. What I do has nothing to do with you, and what you do has nothing to do with me at the end of the day. So that's what people have to understand. I will listen. Half the outfits that I get complimented on, the pieces are from Hollister, H&M, and Zara.
Yeah.
They're not breaking the bank. The shoe is probably the most expensive thing.
I think people think short, I think people have a short-term mindset about life. And reading a lot of like the popular books on, finances and how to be better about finances, Morgan Housel's Psychology of Money. Or we talk about the millionaire.
I just checked out The Art of Spending.
Oh yeah, okay. I haven't picked up that. I have his other book he had is Same as Ever. And I love the quote in that book. Like the one major quote is when he says towards the end, the more I study like the past, I'm paraphrasing, the more I study the past, the more I'm comfortable with the future.
Yeah.
And I think there's a lot to say in this conversation of finances about that too, because, I just finished reading Andrew Ross Sorkin's 1929 about the Great Depression and the whole crash of the stock market. And I think because it's so far away, right? Short-term mindset. Everything's going good. The market's going well. People's house values are very high. So you talked about net worth. And everybody's like, we're great. I'm like, yeah, but it doesn't mean that history can't repeat itself in some way. I said, and then what do you have when that happens? I'm like, we have to think past the consumerism. We are, in an age of overconsumption. You have fast fashion. You have like, you can get, you need another dress. I'm going to buy 5 of them off of Shein, Fashion Nova real quick. They may not last past a week. The girls will go to the club. They got some tight fitting thing on, and it takes them getting one snag on the door, and that whole thing had their whole cheek out, and you're like, and it's over. But they'll be like, I can buy 2 more. And it's like this consumption of like, we can just throw it away, get a new one, and just keep going. Or I'm willing to go into a certain amount of debt because we tell people, which is true, you have to spend money to make money, right? Investing, right? But I think they take investing into a level of not understanding what it takes to get that investment back. So what you mentioned before is like, if you want to get those pair of shoes, how many views does it take to get that money back? And that's not what they're really thinking about. They just really want the pairs of shoes. And seeing now new like videos on YouTube Shorts and TikTok of people, especially young people of like Gen Z era, just saying, oh man, like I realized how much I got into debt. I'm like $10,000 in debt because I was trying to keep up with my homeboys. And it's like, why was I trying to do that? And so like the light bulb comes on, and then you realize the people who really have very good lives are people that are not just thinking, how much can I do right now, but what does my future look like? Because it almost feels that we forget that we will get old.
Oh yeah.
It is coming. It's inevitable. And that, oh wow, you did all these things. You ran up the credit cards. You ran up the loans. And then now we're sitting at age 60, 70, and your people are talking about retirement around you. And you're like, whoa, I can't.
Yeah.
I'm nowhere near it. And then you're thinking about all those purchases that you made, and you're like, oh man.
And it's because, like I always say in videos and to people, future you is depending on present you, right? So future you is pretty helpless in terms of being able to do anything for themselves. So whatever reality you give future you, that is on current day you. And so if you truly don't care about yourself, that's essentially what it comes down to, right? You're not able to understand the lack of care you're showing for yourself and only wanting to enjoy whatever is happening today, right? So like the budgeting ebook I wrote, so I wrote it back in, I think like 2017 maybe. And that's actually what helped like kickstart me hopping on YouTube or hopping back on. So when I originally hopped on in 2016, it was just finance. And then when I decided to come back in 2018, it's when I chose to add the sneaker like perspective in there. And so it's called, like living for today, planning for tomorrow, and then enjoying the little things, because like you can enjoy the little, like no one is telling you you only need to survive. Like a lot of people are living a life where they're barely surviving. They're actually not going out and doing fun things. They're not on trips. They're not at the movies. They're having to say no to their kids a whole lot. And I know that must suck as a parent for them to have to do that because they want to be able to give their kids things. They're just surviving. And that reality is extremely hard, but you have some where they're not quite there, right? Like they are able to have a little bit of breathing room, but it's like you have to be smart with that breathing room. Like you absolutely do. And, we know that we're living in an era now where a lot of young adults, they don't see home ownership as something they're ever going to attain. Like they don't see it. And I understand why they don't see it. Because based on what you need to be able to qualify, what these mortgages are going to be. Now, the mortgages are going to be ridiculous because the homes are overinflated. And do we need a market reset? We absolutely do. But unfortunately, those market resets come in the form of crashes like 2008. And that's what happens. The market is going to crash when you also have massive unemployment. Well, we're already there, so you don't have to worry about these housing prices going down. They're eventually going to cascade down on their own because people can't afford them. If they took out HELOCs on their homes as well and they can't pay those back, they're in double trouble right now. And so you think that you can't afford a home. It feels hopeless. So I forget what it's called, but there's a certain type of consumption that people are participating in now where it's just like, well, let me just buy the thing that'll give me the dopamine right now because there is no hope for tomorrow. And so,
yep, I've been seeing it. Was it like doom spending or something?
Yeah, so it's doom spending, and then it's like another type of consumption where they're just buying the little things because they're just getting the dopamine that way because like the fulfillment of a house and a family is not something that they think that they're going to have at all. But it's like, if you are able, I know that sucks now, but think about how much more it's going to suck if you're 70 or 80 and you're still having to work. Like that's one of the most devastating things is like you walk in somewhere and there's an elder person there and they're working not because they want to, not because they just don't, not because they just want to be out and about and they're they're a people person. They want to be among everybody. No, they're working because they have to. Social Security alone isn't cutting it, and they don't have any retirement in place. There's no pension that's paying them out. There's no 401k, 403b for them to withdraw from. They are there because they have to be there to keep the roof over their head. Or maybe if their home is paid for, newsflash, when the home is paid for, property taxes are still due. Maintenance is still due. But I have stopped discussing housing with a lot of people because I get looked at as the bad guy. When I don't look at housing as I don't look at a home ownership as the end all be all. I don't, because the actual work that goes into a home, that has to be something that you want and makes sense.
Yeah.
Sati says all the time, just run the numbers. He's a multimillionaire. Him and his wife, they don't choose to own a home because it doesn't make sense for him to own a home based on his lifestyle and the travel and him wanting to be in New York and in LA. And they understand the numbers to own versus rent is astronomical. Like people, oh, well, I'm a homeowner. Great. Are you putting 15% aside of your home's value for home repairs? Because that's essentially what it's going to cost.
Correct.
If you don't do any of those home repairs, you got to pay somebody to do it. Okay. And people are like, well, I have my mortgage and my mortgage is lower than your rent. Cool, sweetheart. My mortgage is my rent is the highest that I will ever pay. Your mortgage is the lowest you will ever pay because you have property taxes. You have your home insurance. That can all go up. And newsflash, it's going up for people like never before. Yeah. People had mortgages of $1,500. That was reasonable for them. Their mortgages have skyrocketed to $3,000. Do you have an extra $1,500 a month? Because most people don't.
Right.
So the home that was affordable, now it's keeping you up at night.
Yep.
And instead of just...
I've seen those videos of people regretting it. I've seen it. And I am still, a part of the group of wanting to own a home. However, I also understand what that comes with. Like, even taking over like my mom's house here and it's paid off. Like, congratulations to my mom. But the price that this home cost at the time she got it is less than how much I paid for my used sports car.
Wow.
So when you think about it in that retrospect, you're like, at the time, everything that you said is applicable. How is she going to make it work? Being a single parent at the time, taking care of me, trying to take care of a mortgage, seeing, having to do a lot of things, extra work, 2-3 jobs. Yep. But then it's like, sure, it paid off. Sure, if you sold this house and the property with it that she owns, it costs way more than the house, right? Like, it's worth way more than the house is worth from original. But I think people think that's the same thing that's going to happen exactly to them. And I'm like, even if it did, I always say to people, even if that could be true, even if I told you it's true that would happen, are you willing to wait 20, 30 years of dealing with a house and the house improvements and maintenance and paying for things and whatever for that time, and then take that expense, like you said, lump that in, and then see the real difference and say, was it worth it?
And
for some people, maybe, but for many people, no.
No, it's absolutely no. And the reason I don't idolize home ownership, I got to watch my mom as a single mom grow up, and I've always been in a home. My mom's always owned her own home. And so, but I also understood what that took and her consistently needing to have the things done that she couldn't physically do. Guess what? You got to have somebody out there to do those things. You need to take care of the yard. You got to pay for that maintenance. You need to have a roof fund because you have to replace that roof every so many years. You need to have a timetable for when the hot water heater and the dishwasher.
Oh, yeah.
Every appliance in the kitchen is going to eventually go out. I've had my best friends here in town. Their basement was flooded twice. So having to deal with that twice in a year's time, just there are so many different things that will come up and it's always going to be some expense. It's always going to be something. Now, if you have planned to where you can always afford that something, then great. But you also have to understand there could be a time where you don't get to decide that cash flow.
That's true.
If you get laid off, and it's usually when it rains, it pours, right? So if you get laid off, if you didn't plan it to where the other spouse working, their monthly income could still cover all the bills and y'all be okay, and you're now reliant on two incomes, like a lot of Americans are, just to be able to make it, now you're in a super tough spot.
Absolutely.
Because now, and a lot of people, I get it, like it's a pride thing. I worked hard to get this house. But then people also run their finances further into the ground because they refuse to step away from the house.
Yeah.
Because they don't want to, give up the idea that it's a house. You make it the home. You can go and get another home when things turn around. But they won't want to. So I'm going to borrow from my 401k to keep making the payments. But it's like we're in a different, landscape. We're not in unemployment of like a few years ago. We're in like worse than 2008. So what would have been 3 or 4 months and you're back on your feet, it's now 6, it's now 9, it's now a year, it's now 18 months. And so it's like you may have to do a complete 180 of what you thought you were going to be doing. And is that devastating? Of course it is. Like grieve all of the things that you need to grieve, but take all of that into account. Like you can think best case scenario, but also plan for worst case when it comes to money, because like those things are hard to come back from. And so I do think like everybody has romanticized or they chase because so-and-so, I see it online, so-and-so got a house and so-and-so has a car.
See, like keeping up with the Joneses, as they always say. And I think even more from what I saw in the data, there's been an uptick of people borrowing against their 401ks, like you mentioned. But also the number one thing that always was concerning, especially coming out of the pandemic, and remember when like the whole supply chain, oh man, it'll never go back. And it's pretty much gone back to what it was before, but now you've already upped the prices of vehicles. And people are now just accepting that a vehicle costs as much. And instead of being willing to say, hey, I'm a consumer, it's capitalism. If I'm not willing to pay that price, then I'm going to go for like a used car. But now they understand something about a consumer when it comes to social media. If you see your friends, oh, they got their new job. They're getting the brand new, let me say it again, brand new Mercedes entry. And I want to say this very specifically. I know someone may hate me for this, but the entry level Mercedes, like the entry level C-Class, the C300 that's going to drop $20,000 in value in about 2 years after you drive it off the lot. But because you want the Mercedes dealership to do your YouTube or your Instagram video of them saying, here, we're going to take the cover off and reveal it for you just so you can get a 15-second moment, you will go into that debt. And then the worst is that then the other person, somebody admires you or a friend or something, will say, what am I doing with my life? Oh, I need to get one too and do that. And then the reality hits that, hey, you want to be able to pay your rent? We can put you in a used Toyota Corolla or a Camry, great gas mileage, but you have to give up the Mercedes.
That's not.
Yeah.
That used car is not sexy for social media. And it's funny.
I know.
It's funny you bring that up. So every car that I have owned myself and that I paid for and paid off, all of them have been Mercedes. And I just
Mercedes gang. Okay.
I buy all used ones. I buy all used ones. Like I'm not there. So like when I went to go get this last car, and like this one, I'm blessed and in a position where I'm going to be able to pay it off 18 months early. And so that is going to put, that's money back in my pocket. I don't have to do anything with that money. I just simply know now that car note is off of my back every single month.
Exactly.
Because I paid off my first one And this was just the most annoying thing. I ended up paying it off a week. Was it a week after, a week before? It was totaled. I got rear-ended. Vehicle is totaled because it's a unibody. So insurance is like, yeah, there's nothing we can do with this. So like, here's your check. So then I got another used one, a few newer years used one. Paid that one off in full. And I paid that one off early end of 2022. And so I gifted that to my mom to make sure, like, hey, here you go. Thank you for everything in life. My very first car that I got out of college, like my college graduation gift was a paid off RAV4. So like
I love that. Toyota. I'm Toyota. I'm about Toyota.
I had never even, she had Toyotas my whole life growing up. Like she always had Toyotas. So I got a RAV4 when I graduated undergrad. And so like, I was like, okay, mom, here you go, paying you back. So I was like, okay, I'm going to gift myself a newer used one past that model or whatever, because I will knock multiple years off of that depreciation. Okay. I promise you, I don't need the newest thing. And
yeah,
I got that one. I love it. I still am not somebody that shows my car like on social media.
I know. And I've been, hey, look, I take no offense to any of that, because I've had other friends and people that are, private about certain things, right? You know what I'm saying? Like, they're not a person that's trying to show. I was like, I know you were like, man, I finally got this new car. It was like some time ago. And I was like, man, I'm curious. Like, because I'm a car person, what car it was. And TJ was like, I'm not going to respond to you. And that's it. And I said, oh yeah. I said, I know what that is. I said, you know what? I said, that's fine. I don't take no offense. I said, TJ was like, I don't want people to know what I'm driving. I said, I respect that. I also respect that as a woman who's very out there on social and stuff like that. Like, safety, you know what I'm saying? Like, I respect that.
It's weird because I never had to think about that. And then once you've kind of gone through some things on social, if you are like publicly out there at all, you learn after that. You're like, you know what? Just best to keep it all. Just listen. I'll keep more private than you ever thought that you should, and life just runs so much more smoothly. I don't care what that has to do with. It is blissful and peaceful. So yeah, like when I got my car, I was just like, yeah. Like, and that's the thing. Like, I always see the conversations about like Mercedes, and like people think they're doing something because they have a used Mercedes, and I'm just like, I have a used, really reliable German engineered car that never gives me any problems, that rides super smooth. The only thing I have to do is regular maintenance on it. Like, I'm a little confused on why you think I'm trying to like faux flex or something because of my car. But it's like, listen, I paid off every one that I've had and I've never had any issues with it. So when I pay this one off, like, I'll be sitting good and easy. Like, I was gonna pay this one off, gift it to my mom as well, but she ended up getting her own additional vehicle. So I was like, oh, cool. Well, you're sitting on 2 cars. You're good. So that means like I will then run this one into the ground when it comes to not having to have a car note. Like, you mean I don't have to worry about it at all? Because when I went to the credit union and I was like, oh, okay, I want to buy a car. And they're like, oh,
shout out to the credit unions real quick.
Shout out to the credit unions. And they were like, you're approved for $65,000. I go, have you lost your mind? What makes you think I'm spending that on a car? But I'm like, y'all really do have people come in here, and because that's what they're approved for, they go back to the dealership and tell the dealership that's what they're approved for. So now they didn't put on every package from here until Sunday. And so you're paying $700 a month for that car. It's brand new. Cool. It's also, like you said, it's dropped $20,000 in value the second you drove it off the lot. It's like, no, absolutely. Like, I don't care. Not something I'm doing to myself. So I am so excited to pay this off probably within the next few months, because then I just know I don't have to worry about it. It is off my plate. And that's why I always laugh when people were like, oh, so you're just, right? Again, the whole, oh, if you're just broke, just say that. And sure. As I'm sitting here with zero consumer debt soon, sure.
There's a question that I ask everybody, but I'm very interested in how you respond to this question, because you're coming from being a content creator, and I think it's different in some other mediums where it seems like you have a certain runway. Like, I think you can always be in something, like you can always be in music. Like, you don't fully ever age out, but you may age out of being at the pinnacle, or like playing basketball. That's a good example.
Yeah.
Is, LeBron is still playing at a high level. Is it exactly the same level that he did before? Or, I mean, that's opinions.
Yeah.
But I think, any athlete that we've seen over time, at some point in time, there's kind of like a drawback, right?
Yeah.
But when it comes to content creation, I feel like you can always have something to contribute. No matter what age you are, it's not really like you're too old to make a video about something. I'm like, I completely disagree. So my question is, when you look at all the achievements you've had, right? 10 years on YouTube, talk about all the views, all the subscribers, well deserved. 10 years in the future, what do you want your content, what impact do you want your content to have on the world around you?
Oh, wow. So I will say this, just so you know, we get comments about aging out quite often.
Interesting.
I probably get a little bit of a pass or a cheat code just because they assume I'm younger than what I am. So like they'll come at me with, y'all weren't really outside, and I'm just like, how old do you think I am? So I'll share like, okay, well, by the way, I'm 36, and they're like, no, you're not. Yes, I am. I promise you, I don't need to lie about how old I am.
See, that's different. A lot of people would lean into it and just say, oh yeah, okay, I'm young, but the fact that you say no, I'm 36.
No, I'm 36. Like, don't treat me like I just got here. Okay, don't like that's what I don't want. I'm like, I am the auntie in the room looking at my nieces and nephews like, all right, I know you heard your mama. Okay. So like that's where I am. So yeah, I'm 36, which means to a lot of individuals, they don't pose this question to me a lot, but I'll see it posed to my male peers. They'll be like, aren't you in your 40s? Shouldn't you be married and starting a family? Shouldn't you be like going and taking care of your kids, right? So to them, they think that because we've reached this, mature age, or we're mid 30s, that you shouldn't make this content any longer. But one of my favorite creators is Eddie Wynn, and he just had a daughter, I want to say last year maybe. So a lot of things changed for him because he has a little one, he's married and he has a little one now. And he said, my content itself, like, that's not going to change. I still, love sneakers and things. He's like, so you're still going to continue to get to see this. This is just a different new chapter. Maybe how I approach some of the content could be a little bit more different, but like, him loving sneakers, that isn't going to change. And no, I don't think that, I don't think there is a way in which you age out of loving this. I don't think there's an age at which you age out of creativity. People have always been creative. They just simply show it on social media, right now. That is the medium and that is the avenue. So I don't think you age out of being creative. I think how your creativity shows up or how you present it to the world could change, right? I have no idea if I'll necessarily still be doing what I'm doing in the way I'm doing it 2 years from now, 5 years from now, 8 years from now. I don't know, because I can't tell you, sit here and say, yeah, at 40, I saw myself on YouTube. Not necessarily. I don't, do I still want to show up in the same way at 30, 38? I don't know. I could possibly not want to. What I am fortunate to have known and understood, and having friends and stuff in the industry, is seeing what is on the back end of it, and how there are so many different facets and ways to interact with this culture and with sneakers and in the industry. And it has nothing to do with me being in front of the camera. I can bring things to life for actual activations. I can bring things to life for actual rollouts. I can help bring things to life for campaigns. So because I know that there are different avenues of which you can be involved, and you can be a thought leader, and you can continue to have an impact. I always joke and say the direct deposit hits whether I worked on it or not. So the highest paid projects that I've had, they don't have my name on it necessarily, in terms of like, it was me reviewing a shoe or something. It was me doing something that wasn't in relation to a direct sneaker. It was me hosting, you know, as a moderator. It was me being behind the scenes on production. So, you know, understanding that lets me know there are ways to pivot. It may take a while to figure out what I'm really passionate about and pivoting to. You know, maybe it's a different intersection of what I've done before, but I think you can pivot. I think it's about how open are you to that pivot. And for some people, they want to continue to have the same attention that they've had, right? But that's not always going to be the thing, because a lot of YouTubers learn your audience ages and grows, and your audience may outgrow you in their age. So if you're still also doing the very same thing you've been doing, and your audience has grown up and grown past wanting that, then who are you still presenting to? Right? And so I understand that, because I have more of a disconnect with the masses in terms of people buying sneakers, because a lot of this culture is still buy, 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 buy. That's not where I am. So there's already a barrier and a disconnect there for me in itself. And so for me to continue to, you know, be excited about this, yeah, like I know that a pivot is going to have to happen. How? That I'm not 100% sure about. But I do know that, yeah, there's options in terms of how I want to show up. For the impact, you know, the feedback that I get from people that are saying, you know, I watch your videos and it helped me also realize that I'm not sure why I was still buying shoes at the rate I was buying, because I was never getting to the ones that I already had. And so, you know, I stopped buying for a little bit and I was able to pay off my credit card. Or, you know, TJ, they're like, I really enjoy your content, but, you know, I finally decided to open up, you know, that investment account. Or I finally decided to open up a high yield savings account and put money in it. Or, you know, I finally decided for every retro I buy, I deposit that money in stock in that same investment portfolio. Like I had one viewer, longtime viewer, and he has been watching for a really long time, just really insightful, like picks up everything, is observant, is just really, you know, critical thinking skills are where I wish more young adults were. And I tell him all the time when he's like in my comment section, he gets it far more than even I did. And I thought I was pretty, you know, advanced at my age, you know, being in my younger 20s. And so he went through like a recent layoff, but because he had been watching my content, he had already started to pull back on pairs that just because he liked them, it didn't mean he needed to buy them. And so he chose to save that money instead. Modifications he wanted to make on his car, he understood it would put him in a tight spot, so he held off on doing that. When he went through a layoff, he was able to weather it. It didn't devastate him. It wasn't a crisis. Then he moved on into a different job, getting more pay in a better situation. But what would it have been if he hadn't already changed what his behavior was or what his self-awareness was of his buying behavior and being responsible, but still enjoying the pairs that he really wants, or thinking how, you know, like just because, and somebody else has said this, instead of buy what you like, buy what you'll wear. And that hit me really hard because for so long, when you make adult money, you buy what you like. Because you know, when you were a kid, everybody has the same story. Mom, they wouldn't buy it for me because they only bought me so many shoes. Yeah, same story. At some point, younger you has to be comfortable with knowing we got it now. I don't need to keep trying to prove to younger me that I got it. I got it. So I don't have to prove to you or anybody else that I got it. I like it, sure. Am I going to wear it? No. Okay, then I'm not buying it. And so knowing that people have already taken that away from my content helps. Listen, I know that I could walk away right now today and be beyond happy with just that testimony right there from him. But there's been others too where they've taken initiative to pay off their student loans or just to put themselves in a better position while still loving shoes. You don't have to be you don't have to consume everything to still love shoes. So I would love for people to take that away when it's all said and done and I'm no longer in front of the camera. Maybe I'm to the side of it, you know, or working in a different way or a different capacity, continuing to support friends and people in this industry that I care about. But yeah, just hopefully if you take nothing else away, listen, be responsible, continue to love sneakers, but don't let anyone else's definition of loving this, you know, define how you go about it.
I love that. That's a beautiful answer. That is something that defines the way a lot of people love to answer, which is the impact is more personal. It's not trying to be this kind of viral or superstar type of thing. Is, could I impact someone else's life? Does my content, does my music, or whatever I do inspire somebody else to make a better change for themselves and enjoy life better for themselves? And so I think that's very, very beautiful that happens. So, but thank you for your time today. This has been an amazing conversation. I didn't know we were going to deep dive this much. And, but I really appreciate you. And again, giving you your flowers, because I understand from other people around you that I've met, like I said, like Jazzaray, Bianca, and others, it's very hard being in a space that's dominated, by men, especially, but also in a space where it's just hard work and consistency no matter who you are. And you stay consistent. You put in that hard work. We see all the sneakers behind you. That's like that. That's a lot of sneakers that stacked up over time. But but it's a beautiful thing, and we love the content. So thank you again for stopping by.
No, listen, thank you so much for having me. We certainly have talked about anything tonight, but that's actually just a culmination, I think, of our relationship online in terms of being able to, talk about different things, whether it is money, finances, and fashion, and sneakers, and just human behavior. I love that we can have that banter back and forth for sure. So it was long overdue. I really and truly do appreciate you having me on. So yeah, I hope everybody enjoys when they get to tune in to this episode, and also just continue to support the podcast and support him.
I appreciate it. I greatly appreciate it. Well, guess we're going to end it there, guys. That's another episode of Not Your Day Job. And everybody have a great day. All right, cool.